Infinite projection room begins with the projection of Ultron's world destruction. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 651, Stealing Home. Charles. Old friends always have a tacit understanding. Eric immediately felt that Charles was looking for him. Even if Charles' telepathy had not found him yet, Eric had this intuition in his heart. Long time no see. Hello old friend. I'm sorry, really sorry. I feel your pain and confusion. Charles used an instrument to connect Eric's brain, so he could easily feel Eric's recent experience and the confusion and pain in his heart at the moment. He couldn't help but shed tears because of his empathy. Maybe it was a side effect, but more of Charles was distressed. Distressed for Eric, distressed for his old friend, and regretted why he didn't come to Eric's side as soon as possible. Do you think that, just because you can get into my mind, you can understand my pain? You're in the wrong place, Charles. Things shouldn't be like this. Come back. Eric asked me to help you. Help me? Eric refused Charles' help at this moment. Facing Eric, Charles continued to ask, think about your wife and daughter. What do they want? What they want is to live. I'll listen to you, Charles. I tried to live a simple life like them, but the final outcome was the same. They took away everything I had. Now, it's our turn to take away this. Eric didn't want to listen to Charles' ideals and rhetoric anymore. At this moment, he who had suffered countless pains just wanted to bring destruction to the world. Apocalypse, who was making armor for his men through DIY, also noticed something unusual. When Eric turned around and looked at them, Charles also saw it. Hank, he is not alone. Seeing Eric, the people in front of him, he realized that something was wrong. It's amazing. The power of Apocalypse still exceeded the expectations of the four knights. Although he was powerful and did not have the same psychic ability as Charles, Apocalypse still sensed Charles' arrival. He did not rely on telepathy, but on his strong mental power and extremely sharp perception. He had seen countless mutants in the old world, but he had never seen anyone with the ability of Charles. This is the answer I want. After seeing Charles' ability, Apocalypse felt that he had found the last piece of the puzzle to achieve immortality. Charles, wait. Hank, who was standing by, saw a string of garbled characters suddenly pop up from the instrument in front of him, and realized that there might be a problem. Charles looked at the strange man in front of him. He had not experienced the dimensionality reduction attack from the spiritual world, and he connected his consciousness with Apocalypse without any precautions. He saw what Apocalypse had done in the old world. Oh my god. Charles was shocked by what Apocalypse had done, and Apocalypse's eyes turned white, and he invaded Charles's consciousness. Thank you for letting me enter your consciousness. Charles, get out. The environment of the brainwave amplifier suddenly changed. The mental sea of the mutants that originally displayed red had changed. If it was a calm sea, now it was a purple galaxy. I have never felt such a powerful force. At this moment, Charles' pupils all turned black, and he said in horror, what's going on? What happened to Charles? Raven on the side looked at the changes in front of her and asked hurriedly, I think someone invaded the main brain and controlled it. For what? Raven didn't understand this behavior. Connect Charles. Hank said this answer in disbelief. You know, Charles is the most powerful person in the world in terms of spirit, and someone dared to invade his consciousness. Isn't this just showing off in front of Guangong? But the fact slapped Hank in the face. He underestimated how powerful the hidden power of this world was. The power of Apocalypse was overwhelming for ordinary mutants. Even Charles could hardly compete with Apocalypse in the spiritual world. Humans are always like this. Now they have these. They no longer need stones, spears, slingshots, swords, weapons, or any system. They all disappear, and there is no need for superpowers. After Apocalypse connected to Charles' consciousness, he successfully controlled him. With the help of Charles' ability and brainwave amplifier as a springboard, he controlled all the people responsible for nuclear weapons. Then, in front of Charles' powerful ability, these ordinary humans had no ability to resist at all. They were easily controlled, and countless nuclear bombs were launched into the sky. Charles, looking at the changes in the surrounding environment, Hank realized that something extremely serious might happen. Hank, although Charles still had his own ideas at the moment, he could no longer control himself. Seeing that nuclear weapons were being launched everywhere in the world, Charles could only shout helplessly, "What is this? Who has the key in our hands? Who ordered the launch?" These generals of the US military headquarters were confused and had no idea why these nuclear weapons were launched. "Hank, think of a way. I can't turn him off." Raven had no other way to deal with this kind of thing and could only pin her hopes on Hank. Hank unplugged the power cord on the brainwave amplifier motherboard, but it was useless. Removing the power supply or destroying the instrument would not stop it at all. "We have lost contact with Polaris and Trident." The same thing happened to the Air Force. These generals of the US military headquarters had no power to fight back in the face of this embarrassing predicament. You can challenge God from the Tower of Babel, but you will never defeat God. Under the control of Apocalypse, all the nuclear weapons in the world were launched into the sky. Apocalypse did not intend to destroy the world with nuclear weapons. What he needed was rule, not a doomsday scorched earth. Who would he rule if all the people died? With all the people dead, who can he ask to say that he is a god and kneel at his feet to praise his greatness? But these weapons of mankind still need to be cleared. It's too troublesome. Only when mankind returns to the era without weapons and powerless can mankind learn to be respectful again. "Alex, destroy it. Destroy everything here. Destroy the main brain." Alex heard this and came to the front of the control room, spreading his arms and making a preparatory move. "Go, Shockwave." This is Alex's code name. Charles is no longer asking Alex at this moment as a teacher, but ordering Shockwave as Professor X. With a shout and roar, Shockwave's chest and left hand released strong energy. After shattering most of the energy plates, Charles was finally forced to leave. Alex used his ability to successfully destroy the energy plate of the brainwave amplifier and forcibly shut it down. Several people dragged Charles away from the instrument. Because of the forced separation from the instrument, Charles was severely injured and fainted in a wheelchair. Just when others were worried about his safety, a portal opened in front of them, and Apocalypse and his party came here. Eric. Raven couldn't believe that Eric would actually come to attack Charles. Although the conflict between the two sides was very tense, in Raven's opinion, the two were still friends who could understand each other, but the facts were in front of them. Eric waved his hand and Charles, who was unconscious in a wheelchair, was taken away by him. Charles' wheelchair was made of iron. "Hey, bastard." Alex certainly couldn't watch them take Charles away, and ran to them. "Everything will be revealed, my child." Apocalypse left a faint sentence, turned around and left here through the portal. In extreme anger, Alex launched his own shockwave to bombard Apocalypse and his party. "Alex, don't." Hank wanted to stop him, but he was a step too late. Not to mention that Charles was there. The thing behind the door alone could not be crippled by the shockwave. Alex's all-out shockwave did not hit Apocalypse and his group. They had already left through the portal. Then the school Charles had worked so hard to build would be in trouble. The thing in front of him could not withstand Alex's anger. "Hiss, that thing is going to explode." Apocalypse is so strong in mental power. "This is normal," Hickory said. "Mental power, soul strength, these will gradually become stronger as the organism matures. When the body of the organism gradually ages, the soul will also weaken." Apocalypse is alive, so he has obtained the body of mutant with super healing power. The strength of mental power is probably the first in your world. Even if he does not have Charles's psychic ability, he can still directly invade Charles' consciousness. If Charles's will was not strong enough, I'm afraid that Charles would be completely controlled by Apocalypse in the first place. "Charles, I really learned a lesson. As a very rare psychic mutant in our world, I'm very proud of my abilities, but this pride will actually cause such a big mistake in the future. Gandalf, psychic ability is also an extremely rare ability in the universe. Except for the god level strong who can use the power of the mind to a certain extent, few lives below the god level can develop pure spiritual power. I played the King of Glory with that girl for an afternoon, and she actually took the initiative to contact me to open the voice chat. Although I also know that I shouldn't think too much. She is just looking for a robot to rank up, but I still can't help it. Chapter 652. The wind-like man appears again. Wanda, pure mental power. Janitor, yes, mental power is an illusory power. Its existence is difficult to control and can only be activated and used by other methods. Janitor, for example, using mental power to mobilize the energy in the body, to turn mental power into usable power. Generally only God-level strongmen can do it, at least the level of the Father of Heaven, but even so, there are very few people who can do this. First of all, those who can enter the God level usually have their own areas of expertise, such as runners are good at speed, and cosmic champions are good at strength. They can also use mental power, but they are not good at it. When fighting against the enemy, they might as well use their strengths instead of using mental power that they are not good at. Janitor, and below the Father of Heaven, there are very few lives that can use mental power, let alone rely on this trick, to be promoted to the Father of Heaven. Janitor, if Mr. Charles can break through the Father of Heaven, then he should be able to conduct a detailed scan on a planet without the help of a brainwave amplifier, and he can also expand the range of his mental power scanning to the entire galaxy. The video continues. The silver-haired young man sat by the TV, listening to the news broadcast on the TV. The host inside broadcast the news that Magneto reappeared in the Polish town and announced the notice of his arrest. Pete had a blank expression on his face, but he repeatedly folded a piece of paper in his hand, looking very flustered. Eric's news made him feel moved. Pete. His mother's voice came from outside the room. Pete used his ability to whoosh and came to the game console, pretending to play the game himself and switching the TV channel. Seeing this young man, people who have watched WandaVision were stunned. Wanda, isn't this the fake Pete created by Agatha? Exclamation mark. Janitor, Agatha? Fake Pete? Wanda, you haven't watched my one-time on-demand show, so you don't know, but in my world, there was a fake Pete. Pete is my brother, he has passed away, and then there was a fake Pete, but how come the Pete in this world looks the same as him, and also has his speed ability? A groan sounded in the theater, and Eric, who was knocked unconscious by Bruce's punch before, slowly woke up. What should I do? Should I punch him again? Charles, no, violence can't have any positive effect. We can't let Eric be unconscious. We must let Eric accept this. Loki Odinson, are you sure? He will also go berserk when he wakes up. Charles, no, I believe that if I'm in danger, Eric will definitely save me. Who punched me just now? Eric woke up faintly. He only remembered that he fell into endless anger, and then someone punched him in the face and knocked him unconscious. After a brief moment of confusion, Eric once again recalled what happened before, and the anger that had just dissipated gathered again, but it was not as violent as before. After all, the things on the screen were things that had not yet happened in the future, and the anger in his heart had not faded, but it had subsided a little. Seeing that Eric did not run away immediately, Bruce quietly walked around behind him, and Hikaru said, "Mr. Eric, look at the screen." Eric subconsciously looked over, and then exclaimed, "Did I jump from Apocalypse to WandaVision?" No, it was a person who appeared in your world who was exactly the same as the fake Quicksilver. Wanda, it should be an isotope. Pietro is really lucky. It's okay for the genuine self to have an isotope, but the fake one also has an isotope. Thanos, no, I think this Quicksilver is the real Quicksilver of that universe. Wanda, then, will there be a me in that universe? Charles, well, I will try to find that child. He looks like he is about 20 to 30 years old. He should be about 10 years old now. Eric looked at Pete's mother and suddenly felt familiar. The video continued. What's wrong? Look at what you are doing. I'm fine. I'm playing Pac-Man now. Pete's mother sighed, picked up the remote control on the table, switched the channel, and the previous news appeared again. Are you really coming to see? Do you want to find him? Didn't you tell me not to go out more? Pete said, pretending to be unsurprised. I can't stop you. No one can. But I believe I will not have a good result as long as I have something to do with him. Pete's mother said helplessly. I'm not afraid of him. You should be afraid of him. Faced with a stubborn child, she had no choice but to leave here. After she left, the folded paper appeared in Pete's hand, with the address of Charles' school written on it. Charles, it seems that the future Pete should know me. Tony Stark. No, the point is not this. The point is his mother and his tone. The other party knows Eric better. Tony noticed something unusual, and the other playboy Bruce Wayne also noticed something wrong. They looked at Eric, whose face was getting more and more strange, and even had thin sweat on his head. The two looked at each other and understood everything. Wanda, Stark, are you hiding something from me? Tony Stark, a little, but not sure. Tony once thought that Wanda was his illegitimate daughter, but with the appearance of WandaVision, he also figured out that he did not leave this bad debt. However, in another universe, Wanda and Pete's life experience still seems to be not very good. But at least it is not their own fault. As for whether it is true or not, naturally someone will tell you. The scene came to the road outside the school. A car was driving on the road, and a bee was collecting honey on the flowers on the side of the road. But the whole world seemed to slow down suddenly. A wind-like man wearing leather shoes, leather pants, leather jacket, sunglasses and holding a dessert in his hand appeared. He saw the basketball court with flames, and then first glanced at the young men and women driving around. He put on his headphones, the background music sounded, and a note and the dessert in his hand were left in the air. The wind-like man Quicksilver moved, and then the whole world seemed to be in a time pause, but it did not stop completely. He walked into the basement, and then saw the exploding brainwave amplifier chamber, and Raven, Hank, and Moira in front of the brainwave amplifier chamber. Quicksilver also saw the huge shockwave, and sighed that he came at the right time. Then he casually moved the two pieces of scrap metal flying in the air, stretched his waist, and did some warm-up exercises, and then began his own rescue operation. Hank, who opened his hands and was ready to shout, was frozen at this moment. After Quicksilver moved it outside the school, he still maintained this posture. Soon he sent Raven out again. When he came to Moira's side, he felt that her posture was like inviting someone to dance, and she even held her hand and pretended to dance. Hank's glasses were still in the air, and a piece of metal flew over and shattered them, but there was no one here. All this may have passed a long time in Quicksilver's eyes, but in the eyes of others, they didn't know what happened at all. After Quicksilver sent these people to a safe place, the power of the explosion was revealed in the school. Under the wooden floor, it seemed that a volcano erupted below, and the flames broke through the floor and wanted to spray out. But it was useless in front of Quicksilver. Everyone was saved by him one by one in time. He also helped a girl who spilled beer and refilled her glass with beer. The boy who was styling his hair in the bathroom used his comb to styling his hair. Danger always came a step late in front of Quicksilver's speed. No student was hurt by the explosion, and he even danced Michael Jackson's dance steps inside. Even the pet dog was successfully transported out by him. It was a bit too late, so he built a shock-absorbing device in the woods and threw all the students on it, and some of them into the water. The pet dog even had a piece of pizza in its mouth, and no one had reacted to what had happened. The students who survived the disaster didn't even know what had happened. They were doing their own things in the school, but suddenly they came outside, as if someone had used teleportation on them. The students were not panicked. They had seen all kinds of superpowers, and had learned not to be surprised. "Where did you come from?" Hank panted and asked with relief, after surviving the disaster. "I came to find the professor. I thought he was here." Quicksilver didn't feel anything about what he had just done, and said very easily, "They took him away." Charles' hard work turned into ruins, and he himself was also taken away. At this moment, Hank was also confused. Raven knew that at this time, everyone would be like a headless fly, and someone had to stand up and take charge of the situation. At least we can't let everyone go on in chaos. Charles was kidnapped, Alex and Moira were no longer popular, and Hank was also confused. As the most experienced person, Raven gritted her teeth and revealed her original appearance. "Look, it's her. Are you sure it's her? Is she here to help us?" The students who were in trouble were talking and looking at Raven. Raven guessed right. The students subconsciously focused their eyes on Raven in panic. "They admire you. They need you at this moment. They don't need me." Looking at Hank, who still had the idea that she could return to school, he said decisively. Then he transformed his appearance and became the blonde before. Oh, this is so cool. A yellow convertible drove here and successfully attracted everyone's attention. Scott, a night walker, who had sneaked out of the school, returned to the school. Seeing that the school, that he had been in good condition at the beginning, had now turned into a ruin, he immediately fell into chaos. What's going on? Where is Alex? Where is my brother? Scott asked 3 fatal questions as soon as he got out of the car. Hank hurriedly looked around, looking for Alex. I have rescued everyone. Quicksilver waved his hands, indicating that he had rescued everyone he saw. Everyone followed and started looking, but Hank, as one of the parties involved, knew that Alex had already been engulfed in flames. Alex's shockwave blew up the engine, and then the engine exploded violently. Alex, who was closest to the center of the explosion, was engulfed in flames on the spot, and his body was gone. Alex was too close at the time. Hank could only tell Scott about Alex's situation as tactfully as possible. Scott breathed rapidly and tried to find his brother in the ruins. But looking at the ruins in front of him, Scott could only kneel on the ground and cry in pain. Seeing the academy turned into ruins, and his first batch of students Alex was even dead, Charles felt heartbroken at the moment. Logan didn't say anything when he saw this, but patted Charles on the shoulder. Logan, a rough man who prefers to take action rather than speak, doesn't know how to comfort people, so he can only choose to sit next to Charles to accompany him. Screening room. The academy is ruined. Eric was stunned. Although he didn't live in the academy for a long time, for Eric, this is the first place where he has found a feeling of home in all these years. Moreover, this place is destroyed, and he also has a share. Eric couldn't accept it even more. If he had to use one word to describe his mood now, it would be pitch black. Wanda, the Quicksilver in this world, seems to have stronger abilities than my brother. Logan, is this also the Speed Force? Bruce Wayne, not quite, more like the speed ability plus the slowing down of the flow of time. Bruce Wayne, if this Quicksilver only has the ability of speed, then he should not be able to hear anything when he is playing songs. Or, can he drive the objects around him to speed up together? Strange. To be honest, I almost thought that Quicksilver was the energy carrier of the Time Stone in that world, but it is not impossible to slow down time without the power of the Time Stone, because the speed of time is relative. Strange. If he speeds up his own time by tens of millions of times, 1 second in the eyes of ordinary people is tens of millions of seconds for him. At this speed, bullets will be slower than snails. Even if Quicksilver's speed is the same as that of ordinary people, as long as he enters this time-slowing flow area, he will become countless times faster and finally achieve the effect of speed. Chapter 653. Charles's worldview is constantly refreshed. King quickly followed him to his side, wanting to comfort him, but she didn't know what to say. But at this moment, King heard some voices. We are about to reach our destination, the last kilometer. Alright, brothers, get ready. Please stay calm. Emergency medical assistance will be here soon. A combat helicopter stopped. This paragraph was played on a loop. A group of soldiers carrying strange things, wearing bulletproof vests and fully armed, walked down. Moira saw that it was the military, and walked up happily. Hello, I'm Moira. I'm glad to see you. I'm from the CIA. But Hank, who was among the students, realized that something was wrong, and Raven even recognized the commander among the soldiers. He shouted hurriedly, "Wait. Shoot." Unfortunately, they didn't have a chance to react, and the commander gave the order directly. The soldiers' strange weapons worked, and the terrifying sound wave network enveloped everyone present, and everyone fell into a coma. He strode into the unconscious crowd, and the soldiers took some of them away, including Quicksilver, Raven and others. Only Scott, who had just walked into the ruins out of sadness, and Nightcrawler and Jane who accompanied him were not hit by this weapon. Other soldiers asked what to do with the remaining children. The commander said to ignore them. Scott and the other two in the distance could only watch helplessly everything happening in front of them. At this time, a soldier came over to check the last place. Fortunately, Jane used her ability to make him ignore the 3 of them. After the soldier left here, the 3 of them breathed a sigh of relief. We have to rescue them. Can Kurt take us up? Just go up like this? What if they see us? They won't see us, believe me. Nightcrawler was very scared at first, but seeing his partner's affirmative answer, he decided to believe them. Kurt asked Scott and Jane to hold his hand. Then he activated his mutant ability, blew smoke with a slight dust explosion sound. The next second, Kurt took the two into the fighter. Watching everyone enter the cabin, the commander just pressed a button. The lights flickered around, and Scott noticed something was wrong, and wanted Nightcrawler to take them away. Kurt, take us away. I can't do it. When they closed the door just now, an electromagnetic field appeared. Just like what happened in Berlin. Jin, use your ability to control the pilot. No, I can't enter his mind, and neither can anyone else. That commander. Logan stared at the commander, although he was sure that he had never seen that commander. Charles knew Stryker in the story of Wolf 1, and he also knew Stryker in the 1970s and 1980s after the reboot, and Reversal of the Future had not yet been born at that time, but a creepy feeling surged from his heart. This was his instinct. He felt that the man would bring him unprecedented pain. Feeling the fear emanating from Logan beside him, Charles hurriedly asked, Logan, are you okay? Sorry, I was too excited. No, not you. Logan shook his head and said, did you see that, Commander? I have a feeling that the bitch is not a good person. After they left, the unconscious student woke up, and the car broadcast the news of the nuclear bomb launched all over the world. Quicksilver's mother was also anxiously watching the news in the room. The plane flew towards the snowy mountains, ready to take a few people to a secret base. Dear God, please lead us to the light. Nightwalker prayed for God's blessing there, and next to him was the unconscious Raven Hank and his group. It's me who is damned, he still has a lot of things to do. He always stands up. Scott's heart gradually collapsed under the mental pressure. Unlike Alex, the veteran, he was just a teenager who had just awakened his ability, and was not even an adult. Fear and the unknown were eating away at his heart bit by bit. Kin sensed Scott's inner panic. Because of the mysterious force field, Kin could not break through the force field to affect the soldiers outside, but Scott's heart, who was sitting next to her, was easily sensed by him. She knew she had to do something mysterious and say something, but he doesn't think so. He thinks you are the one who is destined to achieve something. He thinks you will influence the world and even change the world. How do you know? This is what Alex told me. I can hear everyone's voice. Such words could not make Scott get out of the psychological shadow. Kin could only hold his hand tightly to comfort her. Soon, the only sound in the cabin was the sound of Nightwalker praying to God. Scott was alone, crying silently, welcoming the first real transformation of his life. The plane flew over the snow-capped mountains, flew over the forest, and finally flew into a dam by the lake. Why is there a dam again? Peter complained strongly when he saw this. Does the dam have any special effect? Many secret organizations have their secret bases built in dams, such as the Night Raid team, and this organization, that I don't know what it does, but is probably not a good organization, is almost the same. The video continues. Quicksilver, Hank, Moira and Raven woke up from a special cage, and Scott and the other two took the opportunity to slip away from the plane and lurked in the base. The moment the four woke up, Raven disguised herself and hid her blue body. Hank turned into a human-shaped blue-haired beast, which scared Quicksilver. Why did you become like this? Will we become like this too? Hearing Quicksilver's words, Hank realized that he had turned back to his old appearance. He could only explain, no, I just left my medicine at home. What happened? Where is this? Raven, with sharp eyes, found the commander outside and asked, hello, Mystique. Major Stryker? To be more precise, it's Colonel Stryker. If I were you, I wouldn't be so close to the wall. It would make you feel uncomfortable. Stryker looked at Raven approaching him and quickly issued a warning. Hello, Colonel Stryker. I'm Moira Magda-Gort, a senior CIA agent. I know who you are, Agent Magda-Gort. You have no right to lock me up here. Of course I have the right. A mutant who can control minds has just destroyed all the nuclear weapons in the world, and you happen to be at the scene of the incident, in the home of the most powerful mind controller in the world. So please tell me now, where is Charles Xavier? Since Charles used his ability to destroy all the nuclear weapons in the world, Colonel Stryker's attitude is now very tough. What you should really worry about is not Charles. There is another person who has more powerful power. Raven said to Colonel Stricker, "If you let us out, we can still help you. Do you think I will believe what you say? You can disguise yourself as anyone, but I know who you are and what you are capable of." Seeing that no one could convince anyone, Colonel Stricker looked at the time and chose to leave here. "Moira, what do you mean by someone more powerful than Charles?" Hank asked puzzledly after hearing what Moira said just now. On the other side, Scott and the other two who came here with them relied on Jane's ability to move freely in the base. Jane used her ability to make others ignore their behavior. Teams of soldiers passed by them, but all the soldiers passed by them as if they didn't see them. "Why haven't you done it yet?" Looking at another pair of patrolling soldiers walking over, Scott was a little anxious. Although Jane's ability is very strong, no one knows whether the other party has a backup plan, such as shielding the magnetic field controlled by Jane's mental power, or other messy equipment. Nightwalker looked at the gate in front of him with a numb face. This broken base was full of that damn magnetic field, and he couldn't get through it at all. "I have no choice. I can't get in. There is also a magnetic field like the one just now." After hearing Nightwalker's explanation, Scott could only think of other ways. "We have to find a way to cut off the power." Scott on this side was still thinking about how to save the trapped Raven and the other three. That kind of magnetic field. No, it should be that Nightwalker's ability is restrained by energy fields such as electromagnetic fields. Bruce said before, in the underground arena, Nightwalker wanted to activate his teleportation ability to teleport himself out of the iron cage. As a result, Nightwalker, who can teleport over a large area, couldn't leave the cage at all. Every time he wanted to leave the cage, he was defeated by the electric current. But even so, for ordinary people, Nightwalker's ability is extremely terrifying. The video continues. Just when the trio was about to save people, Charles on the other side slowly woke up. He was taken to a desert by Apocalypse, with 4 knights standing beside him, and Charles was horrified to find that he could not activate his ability. His telepathic ability was sealed by the other party. Charles once again refreshed his worldview. After losing his proud psychic ability, he became a disabled person. You know, Apocalypse didn't leave him a wheelchair. Now he is lying on the ground, and only his upper body can move. There are always people who are better than you, and there are always better than you. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 654, Charles' Counterattack. Charles smiled helplessly. His confidence was nothing in front of Apocalypse's powerful ability. Originally, the other party could rely on his mind connection as a springboard and use him to throw all the nuclear warheads in the world into space. Then, after capturing him, he sealed his mind ability. The video continues. Apocalypse stood on a barren mountain. "You restricted my ability?" Charles covered his nose in pain and asked in disbelief. "I can stop you from invading their consciousness. This is a talent I have gained in tens of thousands of years of reincarnation." Apocalypse squatted beside Charles, looking at Charles' dark blue pupils. Apocalypse slowly said, "But understanding other people's thoughts and controlling them is your talent. You have already experienced it, right? The grand event that is about to happen." Charles knew what the grand event Apocalypse was talking about was, that is, destruction. "Do you want to participate in this killing? Destroy the world." After Charles realized that his ability was useless, he could only put his hope on Eric. "I have no choice," Eric said coldly. His cape behind him was blown by the wind on the top of the mountain, swaying wantonly. "No, you have a choice. You just forgot it." "No, Charles, I remember that your way doesn't work." After experiencing the tragic death of his wife and daughter, Eric has completely given up his past ideas. "I gave him a better choice, a better world." After hearing Eric's words, Apocalypse said this proudly. Charles looked at Apocalypse and said, "No, you just took advantage of his anger and pain, that's all." Charles turned to look at Eric and said seriously, "When we first met, I told you, in your heart, I saw something beautiful. Whatever you saw at the time, Charles, I buried it with my dead family." Childers was interrupted by Eric before he finished speaking. At this moment, there was only the anger of revenge in his heart, and he couldn't listen to anything. I think he is right, Logan said to Charles beside him. Who? Apocalypse? No, Charles, I mean Eric is right. Logan looked at Charles, and there appeared a vicissitude in his eyes that Charles had never seen in Logan. You are very happy, Charles. Yes, thank you. But Eric is not. Logan counted on his fingers and said to Charles, first of all, it was Auschwitz concentration camp. I also survived World War II. I know that group of bastards would treat prisoners of war like this. The little mustache and Ethan are not good people. Eric never mentioned his family on his own initiative. I ask you, where do you think his family is? Heaven and hell, if there is such a thing in our world. Logan lit a cigar. Charles, who had always prevented Logan from smoking in his office, rarely stopped him, but continued to listen to Logan quietly. I calculated that Eric should be in his teens at that time. Maybe he even watched his family leave with his own eyes. Do you understand this kind of pain? You don't understand. Logan's words were like a huge bell, shaking Charles' heart fiercely. I understand. And it may be more painful than Eric. Logan smacked his lips and said, then he lost his wife and daughter, the second time. Even I have never experienced this kind of pain. Logan looked at Charles with a provocative smile on his face. Want to take a look inside my mind? Experience my pain? Although it's different from America, it's pretty cool. Come on. When will you dare to face the pain in my mind? Then go tell Eric that you understand his pain. Image continues. Charles, I want you to convey my words to everyone in the world. Tell them that this world will become a ruin. This will be my punishment for mankind. En Sabana. Hearing the words of Apocalypse, Charles turned to Eric for help, but unfortunately Eric ignored him. Deliver my message for me now. Even if I'm willing to do so, I cannot enter the minds of so many people at the same time without the main brain. You don't need any machine to enhance your own abilities. I can help you. Charles's evasive words were not worth mentioning in Apocalypse's eyes, but after hearing what Apocalypse said, Charles' eyes changed. He didn't expect Apocalypse to have such an ability. Apocalypse can actually act as a brainwave amplifier. Not surprising. Hickory said, Apocalypse can make storm from only being able to summon gusts of wind to a strong person who can call the wind and rain, and can also let Eric completely activate his ability to directly control the magnetic field. It is not difficult to strengthen Charles' mental power. I think Apocalypse's strengthening ability is more of an activation, activating the genes that have not yet fully awakened in the mutants. Storm is still young, so Apocalypse can directly enhance her abilities, and Apocalypse is more of a strengthening of Silok and Angel's abilities, and Eric, his potential is the most terrifying one. Image continues. Just when the 3-person team was trying to cut off the power supply, the imprisoned Quicksilver couldn't help it. Do you know him? Who? Magneto. Yes, in the past, but I'm not sure now. What kind of person is he? Is he a bad guy like people say? Quicksilver had heard the most about how evil Eric was, so he asked. No, yes, he is. Why do you care so much about seeing him on TV? Yes, but he is my father. Quicksilver hesitated and still revealed his identity. What? Hearing Quicksilver's words, Raven was shocked instantly. What? Quicksilver's words were like a depth charge that detonated the entire screening room and live broadcast room. Eric's expression froze. How could a son suddenly appear after a daughter died? And this son seemed to be the same place as Wanda's girl's brother plus the husband of another same place. Due to the confusion of the relationship, Eric's brain fell into a short freeze. Compared to Eric, Wanda is more open-minded about the fact that she seems to have an extra father out of nowhere. After all, it's Pietro who has an extra father who is not her, and the two Pietro look different. What does it have to do with the Scarlet Witch that Quicksilver has an extra father? In short, the relationship on the field is starting to get too confusing. Image continues. He and my mother have this kind of relationship. Quicksilver gestured, implying that he is actually an illegitimate child. Raven still repeatedly asked about this matter, because according to seniority, Quicksilver should at least call her aunt. Of course he abandoned my mother when I was born. I saw him 10 years ago, but I didn't know it was him. When I knew it, it was too late. I saw him on TV again last week, so I ran all the way to find him. But when I got there, it was too late again. Although I'm fast, sometimes I'm still too late." Faced with Quicksilver's words, Raven could only wish him, "I hope it won't happen this time." Quicksilver nodded firmly and said, "Yes, it definitely won't happen this time. Listen, everyone in this world, this is my advice to you. Advice to every human and mutant of you." Charles' voice rang in everyone's mind, interrupting everyone's communication. Wanda cast a contemptuous look at Eric across the screen. Even across the endless galaxy, Eric seemed to be able to feel Wanda's contemptuous look at this moment. Eric wanted to say something, but after thinking about it, he decided to go back and look for his illegitimate son. Judging from the time, the child should be in his teens now, which is exactly the time when he lacks fatherly love. Eric himself lost his father when he was very young, so he quickly made up his mind on this matter. His son must not lack fatherly love in his childhood. The video continues. "You have lost your direction, but I have returned. The final judgment is coming. All the buildings and towers you have built will collapse, and another era is about to begin. You are simply powerless to resist." Apocalypse said a sentence, and Charles followed it. But he took this opportunity to secretly contact Jane. "Jane, if you can hear it, concentrate and follow my voice. Come to Cairo to find us." As Charles's direct disciple, Jane was secretly passed a message by Charles. "There is only one purpose for passing this message, to tell the strongest among you, you who possess great power, this world will soon belong to you." Charles followed Apocalypse, but modified the content of the last paragraph, changing it to "protect the people around you. That's what I want to tell you. Talent is talent after all, and Charles's talent is to resist Apocalypse, an outsider." He opened up an extra channel to pass the message to Jane alone, but I think only Jane, a mutant who is also a psychic, can receive it. In the other cell, Hank couldn't believe it. How did Charles do it without a mastermind? Colonel Stricker, who heard the news, came over in a hurry, knocked on the glass next to him and asked, "I recognize that voice. That's Xavier. What's going on?" "We don't know either. We don't know, buddy." Chapter 655, Wolverine, what is a fellow race? The people below didn't know how Charles did it. On the other side, Kim shared the extra information she heard with her partner. "Charles gave me a hidden message, and he knew that only I could hear it. I know where he is." At this time, the patrolling soldiers came over and found the three of them. Kin was discovered by him because he did not use his ability after receiving the message from Charles. When the soldiers raised their guns to shoot, several people disappeared, but their invasion of the military base was discovered. Hearing the news from his men, Stricker calmly sent a team of men to kill these invaders. But Scott and his team seemed to have found the generator in the base. "It's the generator. Go in and take a look." Kurt took the two people and activated his ability to ignore the closed door. In addition to the generator, there was a completely enclosed large iron cage inside the door, and there were panting and roaring sounds similar to animals. "Is there an animal roaring inside?" "That's not an animal, that's a person." Kin, who can feel the inner thoughts of others, knows that it's not an animal inside. After sensing the other person through telepathy, Kin's face shows a look of surprise. "Who is he?" Nightwalker asked in confusion. "That part of his memory has been erased." "Why?" "Because they transformed him and wanted him to become a weapon." Kin tried to use her ability to get more information. At this moment, the closed door was opened by the soldiers sent by Colonel Stricker. "Group 3, please answer. Have you found the target?" After several soldiers came in, they did not find Scott and the other two. Kin hid in the corner and tried to use her ability to open the door of the iron cage and release the people inside. Someone triggered the alarm. "Turn it off." After Kin opened the door of the iron cage, the alarm in the base sounded, and several soldiers looked at the iron cage with vigilance. A man with only a pair of shorts on his lower body, a strange helmet on his head, and instruments strapped to his body, walked out angrily, breathing like a beast. "Fire. Fuck. Logan, isn't this me?" Exclamation mark. "Logan, I was caught in the future?" Exclamation mark. Logan, I was wondering why I felt uncomfortable when I saw that sticker. The video continued. Several soldiers looked at the humanoid beast in front of them and opened fire directly, but for Wolverine, it had no effect at all. He stretched out his modified adamantium claws and jumped up. The three people hiding in the corner only heard the sound of gunfire, and soon only the wailing of the soldiers sounded, and then gradually subsided. Weapon X has escaped. Repeat, Weapon X has escaped. Wolverine's escape put the other people in the military base on emergency alert. After hearing the movement outside calm down, Scott and the other two walked out to check. Are you sure he's not a beast? No, Hank won't be that crazy. The soldiers in the base found Wolverine in the surveillance video, but ordinary soldiers were just lambs to be slaughtered in front of him. He rushed to the soldiers under the firepower output of the soldiers and easily pierced the soldiers' bodies with his cold steel claws and cut them into pieces. In front of this angry beast, the soldiers in the base would not escape death if they dared to appear in front of him. What happened outside? Hey, let us out quickly. Listening to the gunshots and screams outside, Raven and the other two wanted Colonel Stryker to let them out. Colonel Stryker ignored them and left here with an ugly face. Scott and the other two followed Wolverine's trail and successfully caught up with Wolverine. Seeing the three people chasing behind him, Wolverine was ready to take action. Scott also took off his glasses and planned to fight with them, but Jane stopped him. Scott, wait. Jane used her own abilities to calm Wolverine's restless heart and took off the instrument on his head. She put her hands on his head. After a while, Wolverine retracted his claws and pulled out all the instruments inserted in his body. After looking at the three people, he used the steel claws in his hands to cut open the door and then left here in a panic through the door behind him. What did you do to him? Scott was curious about what Jane had done and why the humanoid beast in front of him calmed down. Give him back the part of his lost memory, the only part one can find for him. I don't think we will see him again. After explaining, Jane seemed to be trapped in the memory just now, staring blankly at Wolverine's leaving figure. Nightwalker passed through the corpses all over the ground and finally found Raven and her group trapped in the cage. Kurt, Hank was surprised by the appearance of Nightwalker. Nightcrawler asked them to stay away from the gate. After hearing this, everyone realized that they might use Scott's ability to forcibly destroy the gate and hurried to the other side of the cage. I count to 3, 2. Nightcrawler's words have not yet finished. Scott successfully destroyed the gate that imprisoned them with his laser beam. The smoke dissipated. Scott put on his glasses and Raven and others hurried out. I know where the professor is. I know how to leave here. Scott and Jane told what they knew and what they could do directly. You made a lot of noise. Raven was a little unconvinced that the three of them could do such a big thing. Someone helped us. Let's go this way. Scott led everyone to leave the base. Colonel Stryker had chosen to abandon this place when Wolverine escaped. He was the only one in the base who left here safely. My claws? Logan stretched out his bone claws from his hands. His claws were still normal bone claws because his bones were ordinary bones, but they were supplemented with the steel claws that flashed with cold light on the screen. Weapon X. Logan recited his code name twice and his expression was uncertain. He was not a good person. He was transformed into a weapon and the bones in his body were turned into steel. What's more, his memory was wiped and he was locked in a cage. In the end, he had to rely on a little girl to save him. TSK, I'll make a note of this. In the screening room. See. Eric said with a frosty face, this is what you humans have done to us mutants. In their eyes, we are no different from mice in the laboratory. Logan is already good. At least, he is not dead. It is also possible that humans found that they could not kill him while preserving samples. Do you know what I have seen? Mutants who were dissected and made into specimens. Why are you killing each other? Janitor couldn't help but ask. You are of the same race. Same race. Eric looked at Janitor and sneered. Humans have never regarded us as the same race, and humans are not worthy of being our same race. Charles is wrong. Very wrong. Humans don't put us in the same position at all. How can we be of the same race? Why? Janitor said puzzledly. From a biological point of view, you are all human. There are too many life forms in the universe that are not from the same order or even from the animal and plant kingdoms, coexisting on a planet and recognizing each other as their own kind. You just evolved. You evolved from humans. In the classification of the universe, what is used to judge whether the other party is of the same race is never race, but culture. The standard for judging civilization is language, writing, and technological system, that is, the sense of identity with civilization, not race. There are too many united civilizations in the universe. They can all consider creatures that are completely different from themselves as their own kind. Why can't you, who all evolved from the same ancestor, do so? Because of jealousy. Eric told Ganeta, humans are jealous and afraid of our power, so they want to persecute us. I think Apocalypse did nothing wrong. At least after he rules the world, the situation of our mutants will be much better. Charles, Eric. Charles, don't use your broken theory to persuade me, it's useless. Charles, no, Eric, I want to have a good talk with you. Eric, what to talk about? The fantastic idea of integrating mutants into human society? Thanos, forcing mutants and humans to merge will only hurt both sides. At this moment, Thanos spoke. Thanos, I think Bruce Wayne said the reason why humans resist mutants is because mutants are unstable. Scott was just an ordinary young man before awakening, but after awakening, he has the ability to become a killing machine. The continuation of a society is based on stability, and mutants will destroy this stability. Thanos, my suggestion is that you should simply go out and establish an independent country. If conditions permit, change to another planet. Loki Odinson, establish a country. Impossible. Human politicians will not let them establish a country. Humans are greedy for territory. If they establish a country, who will give them land? Do you plan to let them live in the sea? Robbery is even more impossible. Robbery directly gives humans a legal reason to take action. Chapter 656, The Important Charles. Loki Odinson, if you dare to grab a piece of desert today, you will dare to occupy the entire Earth tomorrow. Gandalf, maybe, you really consider interstellar migration. Eric's mouth twitched. He was a person who had seen the Dark Forest. God knows what their universe is like. Let alone other things. Just going to heaven is a big problem. Image continues, if it weren't for the betrayal of mankind, this should have been the center of the world. Now I'm back. Apocalypse stood on a high mountain in Cairo, looking at the prosperous city scene at his feet, and said with regret. After saying that, Apocalypse raised his hands. Charles soon understood what he was doing. The prosperous and huge city of Cairo under his feet turned into sand in an instant. Under the control of Apocalypse, the buildings in Cairo were rebuilt into a tall pyramid. The surrounding of the pyramid was the original Cairo, which has now become a ruin. It was your lost past, but it is also your future. Apocalypse used his ability to help Eric make the helmet he once wore, a helmet that can resist spiritual power. After handing it to Eric, he said, "Feel your power, kid. Go deep into the power of the Earth's core and destroy everything they built in this world. Cleanse this world thoroughly, and then we will lead the survivors to create a better world." Apocalypse's words, like the whisper of a devil, were deeply imprinted in Eric's heart. After losing the nuclear warhead, only Eric's ability could help him quickly destroy the world. What about me? What role should I play in your plan? Charles asked what his own outcome would be after listening to Apocalypse's plan. You will play the most important role. Apocalypse looked at Charles with disdain, and an incomprehensible expression appeared on his face. The most important character? Even Magneto, who became one of his most important assistants in destroying modern civilization, is probably just a pawn in his eyes. How can he call him the most important character? It's Charles. Bruce said he wants to control the minds of all humans on the Earth, but Charles doesn't cooperate. Even if Charles cooperates, he will not let himself hand over the power to control the world to an outsider. In this case, Apocalypse naturally has the best choice, which is to make Charles his own. Conversion ceremony. The video continues. Great. Scott and several people came to a military fighter. Hank, can you fly this thing? I think I can try. This base not only found a fighter that can help them leave, but Scott also found a flying suit next to it. Now, the gift left by Colonel Stricker helped them a lot. On the other side, Raven and the others flew towards Cairo with the equipment obtained from the base. Don't you feel nervous? Were you scared in Washington back then? Jane asked Raven, who has always been regarded as a hero by mutants, on the plane. No, but I was scared during the first war. My friends and I were also on such a plane. I was about the same age as you at that time. We called ourselves X-Men. Raven told the people around her about her past. She used to have a group of friends around her, but things have changed. Now there are only her and Hank in the team. Raven said to Scott, your brother was there at the time. We called him Shockwave. His ability is difficult to control, but he is very brave in battle. Raven was silent for a while, and then told others what happened to her back then. Where are those who fought with you back then? Other X-Men. Nightwalker curiously asked about the whereabouts of others. Only Hank and I are still alive. I can't save others. I said I'm not a hero. Hearing Nightwalker's words, Raven was still a little sad. He lost too many companions in the war, and those he thought were heroes had all disappeared. But you are a hero to us. Seeing you on TV that day changed my life. Me too. Me too. Jane's words aroused the recognition of Quicksilver and Nightcrawler. They all became brave and fearless because of Raven's influence. Although I still live in my mother's basement, but other things in life seem to be the same. I'm just a loser. Quicksilver's self-deprecating words made the atmosphere in the entire fight better, and even Raven couldn't help laughing. Have so many people left? Charles knew who Raven was talking about. Even if he and Eric were removed, it was a small team of several people, but after 20 years, only Raven and Hank were left. After listening to Apocalypse's words, Eric began to carry out the so-called purification operation. He who can communicate with the Earth's magnetic field has the ability to destroy the world. Under his ability, the whole world is affected by him. First, various iron objects suspended above the surface floated up and slowly surrounded Magneto. Countless metal elements broke through the constraints of the Earth's surface and came to the sky. Countless iron blocks in the ocean rushed out of the seawater like a dragon out of the sea. This is a geomagnetic phenomenon, but the scale is far beyond what we saw in Auschwitz. The surface layer is full of geomagnetic element, and the same is true for the surface of the seabed. Everything has begun in the deepest place. The continental block can hold it back for a while, but it won't last long. In the end, our cities, our countries, and everything created since the Bronze Age will be completely destroyed. The death toll will reach billions. The US military headquarters discovered the abnormal situation of the Earth, and an expert explained to the commanders what would happen next. Is he saying that the whole world will be destroyed? A senior US military official said in disbelief. Tony stared at the expert closely. The more he looked at him, the more he felt that the old man looked like Mr. Lee, who resigned some time ago. At this moment, Eric, no, it's Magneto, who is now well-deserved surface level combat force. Various abnormalities have occurred all over the world. The longer Eric's ability lasts, the greater the damage to the entire world. Inside the pyramid, Apocalypse sat on his own throne, and the Angel Warren placed Charles on a platform. You are just another false god, and no matter who follows you, they will eventually betray you again. Charles realized that he might encounter misfortune, and said what he had always wanted to say. The cursed Apocalypse will eventually be betrayed like the old times. You are wrong, Charles. In thousands of reincarnations, I met you for the first time. I have countless talents, but I have never got what I want most, the ability to make myself omnipresent and everyone. Apocalypse tied Charles to the instrument and prepared to transfer his consciousness to Charles' body through a ceremony so that he could obtain the ability he dreamed of. 12 o'clock direction Giza Pyramid. Scott and his party finally arrived in Cairo, which was destroyed beyond recognition by Apocalypse and Eric's abilities. They took the professor to the pyramid, and he wanted to transfer his own consciousness to the professor. If he succeeds, he will be able to control the minds of everyone in the world. Jane said a bad news with a serious face. If Apocalypse succeeds in doing this, the whole world will fall into the rule of Apocalypse again, and there will be no room for redemption. What's going on? That's Eric. Moira looked at the strange scene created by Eric's ability and asked in surprise. Raven knew that this was the ability of Magneto. Hearing her father's name, Quicksilver came to the front to observe. You guys help Nightwalker reach the pyramid and rescue Charles. I'll deal with Eric. Raven took a look at the people around her. She became the commander and assigned everyone's tasks. How should we get there? I'll take you there. I'm here for him. Let me help you. Others, rescue Charles. Leave as soon as you get back here. Quicksilver originally came here with them for Eric, so he volunteered to take Raven to find Eric. Raven could only let others rescue Charles and leave here. He didn't want them to die here. We won't abandon you. Don't worry. Under Magneto's power, the buildings on the surface were damaged more and more seriously. Raven said after Scott and the others got off the plane at their destination. Hank, you go with me to rescue Charles. Moira stays on the plane. Wait, we can't fully control our powers yet. After hearing Raven's words, Scott said that they haven't fully controlled their powers yet and are worried that they can't rescue Charles. Then don't control it. You have to accept it, and so do I. After leaving the three people with the last advice, Raven restored her original blue skin, left here with the help of Quicksilver, and came to Eric floating in the sky. Go, stay with them, and protect me until I finish all this. Apocalypse asked the Angel Warren to leave the pyramid, and then he lay on the altar and began the body transformation ceremony. Chapter 657, Decisive Battle. Jane, Scott, Hank and Nightcrawler came to the entrance of the pyramid. Before the Angel Warren flew over, they saw that there was no one at the entrance, so Nightcrawler went in alone. After the three successfully blocked the steel feathers fired by the Angel Warren, Warren saw Nightcrawler entering the pyramid, so he left and followed him. Nightcrawler used his teleportation ability to teleport continuously. While the Angel Warren was attracted away by him, the three people who stayed at the entrance wanted to take the opportunity to sneak into the pyramid. The silver-haired Storm fell from the sky and blocked the three people. With a wave of her hand, a gust of wind was raised, and an abandoned car flew towards Scott and the other two. Hank used his body to block the car. Scott took off his glasses, and a hot laser beam gushed out of his pupils. Storm hurriedly fell to the side, and Hank grabbed the car and threw it at her. Storm, panicked, looked at the car falling from the sky and stood still. Just when the car was about to hit her, a purple light appeared and cut the car in half from top to bottom. Psylocke landed handsomely from the air and successfully saved Storm. Separate them. Hearing Psylocke's words, Storm activated her ability, rose into the air, and manipulated the power of thunder, venting her anger wantonly on the battlefield. Jane, who was forced to hide in the corner, saw the professor's current situation. No, Professor. Apocalypse's turning ceremony is about to be completed. Fortunately, Nightwalker is in the pyramid at this moment and still has a chance. Kurt, hurry up. Jane hurriedly contacted Nightwalker and asked him to speed up to save Charles. I'm looking. This place is like a maze. Nightwalker got lost in the complex pyramid and looked around blankly. At this time, the Angel Warren behind him secretly attacked him. The enemies were extremely jealous of each other. Nightcrawler kept teleporting to get rid of the Angel Warren, but after he was caught by the Angel Warren, he took Warren with him every time he teleported. No, Kurt. Jane saw Nightcrawler in trouble and couldn't help getting anxious. Outside, Hank challenged Psylocke with his bare hands, facing an enemy who could transform into energy weapons. Hank's situation was also very bad, especially after Psylocke changed her sword into a whip. On Raven's side, Quicksilver and she were blocked outside the magnetic field protection circle created by Eric. Quicksilver tried various methods to break through, but it was useless. The magnetic field here is too strong. We can't get in. After hearing Quicksilver's words, Raven could only put her hope on Eric. Eric. Mystique. Hearing the familiar voice, Eric opened his eyes and saw his former comrade. I know you think you've lost everything, but it's not like that. You still have me and Charles. Raven said as she looked at Quicksilver on the side, but she didn't say he was Eric's son in the end. You still have many family members waiting for you. You didn't have a chance to save your family before, but now you do, and that's what I want to tell you. Raven wanted to make Eric turn back through her words. What about you? Eric asked. Raven focused her eyes on Quicksilver, who looked at his biological father whom he had been looking for many years, swallowed nervously, and tried hard to say it, but didn't say it in the end. "I'm yours. I'm here for my family too." Looking at Quicksilver on the screen, who still couldn't say his situation, Eric had made up his mind to pick up the mother and son when he returned. However, the purple potato monster was right. Quicksilver was a mutant, and it would be better for him to be brought to X Academy, but his mother was just an ordinary person. On the other side, Hank tried to dodge after Psylocke used her whip, but unfortunately, he was still tied by Psylocke's whip around his neck, and Hank was in danger. Inside the pyramid, golden pattern slowly covered the instruments under Charles, and Apocalypse's ritual was about to succeed. Jean watched helplessly outside the battlefield. Nightcrawler was still fighting with the Angel Warren, and had no way to get away to help Charles. Scott and Storm were also fighting hard. Hank was tied by Psylocke's neck and dragged on the ground, and Psylocke showed a cruel smile on her face. Just when she was about to dismember Hank, Hank found an opportunity to break free, grabbed Psylocke's neck, and threw her out. "Get out! Get out! Get out!" On Charles' side, Apocalypse's consciousness had begun to invade his mind, and the situation was very bad. Fortunately, the battle between Nightcrawler and Angel Warren changed. Nightcrawler used his teleportation to successfully trap Angel Warren, who was holding his tail, in the building, and then easily knocked him out. Things finally took a turn for the better. Charles was invaded by Apocalypse's consciousness and groaned in pain. His originally thick black hair fell off during the fight between the two, and Charles became a bald head. Nightcrawler appeared inside the pyramid, looking for Charles. Fortunately, the sound Charles made successfully allowed Nightcrawler to find him. When he was about to give up, Nightcrawler picked him up and took Charles away from here and returned to the plane with his own ability. Jane was relieved to see Charles rescued, and Nightcrawler took Jane back to the fighter. The battle between Scott and Storm also entered a white-hot stage, and Scott's laser beam and Storm's lightning intertwined. Nightcrawler appeared next to Scott and asked him to wear glasses. Because Charles had been rescued, there was no need to fight anymore. Nightwalker used his ability to take Hank and Scott away and brought them to the fighter plane, ready to start the plane and leave here. Apocalypse in the pyramid woke up. He had experienced countless transfer ceremonies. At this moment, he didn't understand that the ceremony had failed. An angry roar sounded from the altar and resounded throughout the pyramid. Angel Warren woke up from his coma and found Psylocke. He saw the fighter plane preparing to leave not far away. With the cooperation of Angel Warren, Psylocke successfully came to the top of the fighter plane. "What's going on?" Moira in the cabin heard the sound coming from above her head. Psylocke used her weapons to destroy the fighter plane to prevent them from leaving. "Kurt, everyone hold on to Nightwalker." Jane realized that they couldn't leave here like this and wanted to leave here through Nightwalker's ability. Nightwalker was a little unconfident because he had never tried to lead so many people. "Take us out of here." At this time, Angel Warren came into the cabin through the big hole made by Psylocke. Jane used her ability to flip the entire fighter and temporarily blocked Angel Warren. Everyone else held on to Nightwalker, who tried to use his superpowers to take everyone away. But it didn't work. Several consecutive teleportations failed. Fortunately, before Angel Warren's attack was about to arrive, he still successfully led everyone away from here. The fighter quickly fell to the ground. Angel Warren seemed to have not left it in time and was trapped in the plane. Psylocke jumped out of the plane in the air and used her weapons to insert into the wall to slow down the damage of the fall. But she finally fell heavily to the ground and fainted. Is he okay? He should just be exhausted. Nightwalker fainted after leading everyone to a safe place. Charles, lying on the ground, was still shouting unconsciously, "Get out! Get out! The professor is fine. We are fine." Under Jane's comfort, the excited professor slowly calmed down. "I decided to go back and fight for them. What about you?" After hearing the movement in the distance, Raven felt that she could not wait for Eric any longer. She had to go back to help her companions. After listening to Raven's words, Eric seemed to be thinking about something. He recalled Charles' words before. "I saw a lot of things that you don't even know, not just pain and anger. There are also many beautiful memories. You left behind not only me, There is a power that can make you stronger here. We need you, Eric. A bunch of trash. Apocalypse came to the outside of the pyramid through the portal. Looking at the situation outside, he was very angry with his men. Charles, I know you can hear me. We are still connected to each other. Charles, come out quickly. Charles and Apocalypse's consciousness were not completely disconnected, and Charles could still hear Apocalypse's words. While Apocalypse was shouting, Quicksilver appeared in front of Apocalypse with a look of disdain. HMPH. Then 1 punch, 2 punches, 3 punches, 4 punches. Under Quicksilver's ability, after Apocalypse was punched away by him, he acted as a sandbag in the sky and was ravaged back and forth by him. It seemed that even Apocalypse was not his opponent. Stupid boy. It was a pity that Quicksilver was still a little young. After being beaten, Apocalypse still reacted. His eyes turned white, and he controlled the sand to turn into quicksand, to trap one of Quicksilver's legs, imprisoning him in place. Quicksilver, who was unwilling to resist, was kicked by Apocalypse, and broke his other leg, and twisted his right hand. Then Quicksilver could only kneel on the ground, and groan in pain. Arsehole. Eric's eyes were blazing. Quicksilver's identity had been confirmed. This was the son he had never seen. Chapter 658. Question. Death of Apocalypse. Quicksilver's screams echoed in the ruins. Charles saw this scene, and the feeling of powerlessness in his heart deepened. In the distance, another person heard Peter's screams. Finish him. Apocalypse knew that Charles could see everything that happened here, so he grabbed Quicksilver's head. He signaled Psylocke to come over and execute Quicksilver with the weapon in her hand. He briefly came into contact with Charles's mind and knew that Charles was not the kind of person who would willingly give up his companions for himself. Although he looked down on this kind of character, it did not prevent him from using Charles's character. If Charles did not come out, then this kid who dared to attack him would die. Although his ability was not bad for Apocalypse, Charles's ability made Apocalypse more excited. If he killed him, Apocalypse would not mind going up for hundreds or thousands of years to wait for a Quicksilver. By then, with his psychic ability, he would definitely be able to easily obtain the power he wanted. Moreover, Apocalypse believed that, if Quicksilver died here, it would be a huge blow to Charles's cowardly character. At that time, he could find him through Charles' mental fluctuations. Psylocke slowly walked over and played with a sword. She slashed at Quicksilver with the sword, but when she was about to hit Quicksilver, she suddenly turned and slashed at Apocalypse's neck. Psylocke turned against us? Is there a traitor around Apocalypse? No, that's not right. Psylocke has a better energy weapon. That's Raven. Apocalypse reacted quickly, but a huge scar was still cut on his neck. However, his powerful healing ability allowed him to recover in just a few seconds. It was not a big deal for him to be suppressed for 5,000 years. In addition to the fact that Apocalypse's once loyal knight gave Apocalypse the last energy shield of his life, the most important thing was that the sacrifice he absorbed at the end had super healing ability. The angel used his right hand to firmly grasp the neck of Psylocke and lifted her up. Faced with a huge gap in strength, Psylocke struggled helplessly and finally subconsciously changed back to her true form. That's Raven. Eric and Charles both saw this scene, but the most painful one was Storm hiding in the corner. Because Mystique has always been a hero in her mind and the object of her admiration. I'm going to save her. Who will go with me? I'll go with you. No. He wants me. Hank and Scott were ready to attack again, to face this powerful enemy that was almost impossible to defeat, while Charles leaned against the wall, struggling to stand up and exchange himself for Raven. Charles, you can't go and fall into the trap. If he finds you, we will all be finished, even the world. Moira persuaded Charles, because his going there would not help the situation, but would make it worse. You are as vulnerable as they are, Charles. Come out and save these weaklings. Use your own life to exchange forces. Apocalypse wanted to force Charles out through Raven. As Apocalypse exerted force, Raven's consciousness gradually blurred. Charles was in great pain. His ability allowed him to feel Raven's pain at the moment. He really couldn't bear to continue watching his sister suffer. Apocalypse is right. He and I still have some kind of connection. I can also enter his brain. Just then, Charles suddenly realized something. Charles, are you going to sit back and do nothing? Apocalypse outside was still clamoring. Charles came to Apocalypse's brain through the connection between the two. He said what Apocalypse said when he entered his brain before. Thank you for letting me enter your brain. In the white spiritual space, Apocalypse and Charles appeared here. Charles walked towards Apocalypse angrily. Don't you want my ability? Then you have to feel what I feel. Charles put his hand on Apocalypse's head and countless voices poured into Apocalypse's mind. That was what Charles felt every moment, and that was what Charles felt since he was a child. The violent torrent of information overloaded Apocalypse's consciousness in an instant, and Apocalypse tasted unprecedented pain. I think this is also what Mr. Clark has felt for so many years. That kind of violent torrent of information, even if everyone just watched from the perspective of a bystander, can feel the extreme pain, and Charles and Clark have both felt this pain since childhood. This war in the sea of consciousness is unknown to outsiders. Charles looked indifferent, as if he was asleep, and Apocalypse, who was overloaded with information, subconsciously loosened his hands, and Raven finally escaped from the brink of death. Welcome to my world, you are in my territory now. The surrounding environment was transformed by Charles into a familiar environment, that is, X Academy. Charles punched him on the head again and again. Just as Charles continued to attack Apocalypse, a hand grasped Charles' fist. That was Apocalypse. You are not strong enough. Even in the spiritual world that Charles was most familiar with, he was far from being Apocalypse's opponent. Apocalypse, who was holding Charles' fist in the spiritual world, activated his own ability. Apocalypse's body swelled up and became very huge like a giant. Charles in front of him seemed very weak. Can you win this? This is not a surprise. Before, with the support of the brainwave amplifier, Charles also lost to Apocalypse. Now, Apocalypse can suppress Charles again, as long as he uses the attack launched by Charles. Then, is Apocalypse really so unsolvable? No, I think there must be a solution. Question: how did Apocalypse die? This question is a group question mode. If you answer correctly, you will be awarded 30 points. If you answer incorrectly, you will draw a nightmare card. A. Apocalypse died of old age. B. Apocalypse, who ruled the world, felt bored and committed suicide. C. Charles had a burst of energy and wiped out Apocalypse's consciousness. D. Eric turned against him and attacked him by surprise. Apocalypse lost his outer defense and then Charles wiped out his will. E. Killed by Scott. F. Since it could be Scott, why can't it be Jane? G. Why didn't Wolverine come and chop off Apocalypse's head with one claw? Chapter 659, Jane Grey, the Blooming Phoenix. Let's rule out A and B first. Tony said first, the ending of old age is basically impossible. Not to mention that Apocalypse has obtained super healing ability. Even if he can't live forever, living for hundreds of years is not a problem. In these hundreds of years, Apocalypse can completely find the next host to transfer his body. Option B is even more nonsense. Apocalypse's final ending must be killed by someone. We just need to know who this person is. Eric, Charles, what do you think? Charles, I suddenly exploded. This is possible. Maybe Apocalypse wants to wipe you out, which caused my explosion. But I think Apocalypse is more likely to kill me first. I insist more on D, which is the ending of you and me joining forces. Agwang, according to Eric's ability, maybe he does have the ability to destroy Apocalypse from a physical level. At that time, he at least moved a planet, or even detonated a star. Eric, Loki Odinson, according to the habits of the screening room, some seemingly unreliable answers are more likely. Agwang, you mean EFG. Loki Odinson, you speculated before that Scott was related to a demon god, or even the legendary lord of the Crimson Realm, Ceratok. Maybe he communicated with Ceratok and killed Apocalypse with the help of Ceratok's power. Strange, it's just a possibility. Bruce Wayne, of the remaining two, I suggest removing Logan. Logan was in the United States before. How could he come to Egypt in a short time? Moreover, his memory is incomplete. Most importantly, Logan has no means to target Apocalypse. His attacks are mainly Malayan blades. Apocalypse has the same healing ability as Logan, and has a skill panel far beyond Logan. It is unlikely that he will be killed by Logan. Logan, then, choose Scott. Charles, no. Maybe Jane. Charles, Jane also has the same psychic ability as me. She can even sense the existence of apocalypse in advance. The arrival of disaster. Jane may have a stronger power than me. I had to use a lot of effort to wake her up from the nightmare. Charles, I think it was Jane. When Apocalypse and I fought in the Sea of Consciousness and both were injured, Jane killed Apocalypse. Bruce Wayne, remove CD. These two answers are wrong. Eric, why? Bruce Wayne, I think the theater is playing word games with us, erasing consciousness, and the question is how Apocalypse died. Peter Parker, is there any problem with this? Bruce Wayne, yes, the last answer, Wolverine cut off the dog's head. Apocalypse may be chopped off by Wolverine, but he may not die after it is cut off. And C and D are the same. Being wiped out of consciousness is not being killed. After excluding Ab, there are only two options, which clearly show that the other party was killed. Bruce Wayne. In other words, the answer only exists between Scott and Jane. Charles, I choose Jane. You are just a special guest. You can choose whatever you want. Charles, M. Eric. Then I also choose F. Logan. F. Everyone gave answers one after another. Although their guesses were wrong, they were not wrong. The video continued at this moment. Charles had completely lost his ability to resist in front of Apocalypse. In the real world, Apocalypse also found their location. Apocalypse raised his hand and waved it. The original house and the obstacles that covered them instantly turned into flying sand. Charles and his party were completely exposed in front of Apocalypse. It's over. In the world of the Sea of Consciousness, Charles was grabbed by one leg by Apocalypse and thrown around. The whole battle can only be described as the opposite of evenly matched. In the real world, Apocalypse actually had enough energy to walk towards the room where Charles was. Bang! A steel column fell from the sky and blocked him in front of him. The second steel column that followed closely and crossed with the first one to form an X shape. X, no passage, is still their symbol. In the sky not far away, Eric slowly flew over. Apocalypse turned back in disbelief and said, "You actually betrayed me?" "No, I betrayed them." With Magneto's thoughts, countless steel bars, iron pillars and oars flew towards Apocalypse, and a torrent of steel swept over. Charles, Eric. I knew it. Look. I knew it. Eric did not answer, but the expression on his face, that could not be concealed, proved that his heart was definitely not calm. Apocalypse was shooting himself in the foot. Eric, who was trained by him with all his strength, completely exploded at this moment. Although he was still holding iron objects to hit people, after realizing the power of the magnetic field, the attacks at this moment collectively broke through the speed of sound. Apocalypse had to take it seriously and use his hands to support a barrier. Countless iron blocks exploded on the barrier with flames and then exploded into a pool of molten iron. Quicksilver on the side was trying to pull out his legs that were stuck in the ground. Hank and Scott also realized that now was the best time to attack. The two jumped down, and Hank took the opportunity to carry Raven away. He came to Quicksilver and smashed the stone that sealed Quicksilver's legs with a punch. Unfortunately, Scott, who was responsible for covering, became a bad teammate after taking off his glasses. He did not control his ability and almost injured his teammates by mistake. At the same time, Apocalypse discovered the abnormality here. Scott stood up quickly, desperately suppressing his recoil, and tried his best to shoot the lasers in his eyes on Apocalypse's barrier, while Eric mobilized the nearby magnetic field, and all objects that could be used turned into weapons to attack Apocalypse at this moment. They are still not strong enough, but Apocalypse's strength exceeded their imagination. It was not difficult for Apocalypse to do two things at the same time. Apocalypse blocked the attacks of the two people with a powerful barrier and continued to beat Charles in the world of consciousness. Charles was not Apocalypse's opponent. "Jane, come here and help me." Hank sent Quicksilver and Mystique to a safer place. Looking at what happened below, Moira was already desperate. They can't stop him. Eric and Scott's attacks couldn't break Apocalypse's defense at all, and Charles in the Sea of Consciousness was no match for Apocalypse. Since Apocalypse recovered, he was beaten unilaterally. At this time, a lightning bolt struck Apocalypse's barrier. Storm also betrayed Apocalypse. Apocalypse was particularly angry about the betrayal of his first night, but this was not incompetent rage. Apocalypse slapped Storm away, and her life or death was unknown. Hank, who wanted to help, was knocked unconscious by Apocalypse's slap before he rushed over. In the process of a group of high-level mages fighting, Hank, a half-meat warrior, couldn't help at all, and even Scott was imprisoned on the wall by Apocalypse. Eric was still attacking hard, but to no avail. Apocalypse completely ignored him. "It's over, Charles. You're dying. You're mine now." In the mental space, Apocalypse has completely defeated Charles. Charles can only say with difficulty, "You'll never win." "Why do you say that?" Apocalypse, who is sure of victory, doesn't understand why Charles can still say such a thing at this time. "Because you are only one person, and I'm not fighting alone." The sea of consciousness at this moment is the brainwave control room that was destroyed before. When Charles said this, the door of the brainwave control room was opened, and a figure walked out of it. Jane Grey. Let go of yourself, and release your power. Don't be afraid. The same is true for Jane in the real world. She walked towards Apocalypse, and Apocalypse also walked towards her, but Jane in the real world relied on her own mental ability to directly step into the air. Release your power, Jane. Release it. At this moment, Jane finally untied the restraints. With a phoenix cry that resounded through the sky, a pair of flaming wings bloomed from behind Jane. Apocalypse's proud defensive ability was broken by a light poke like foam cardboard in front of this flame. The golden red flame turned into a firebird behind Jane, and the armor on Apocalypse was instantly shattered. Eric took this opportunity to drive countless steel bars into Apocalypse's body. In an instant, Apocalypse was pierced into a steel hedgehog, and Hank also took the opportunity to rescue Scott, who was trapped in the wall. Scott, who was freed, used his laser beam to attack Apocalypse again. Apocalypse has realized the problem, that is, the power of the girl is too terrifying. He has never seen such a terrifying monster in his 1,000 years of reincarnation. Yes, in Apocalypse's heart, Jane is already worthy of the title of monster. He used his teleportation ability to leave here. These injuries were not fatal to him. As long as he left here, he would be able to recover. But if he didn't run, he would be burned to dust by the terrifying flames. But Storm, who had betrayed him before, betrayed him again, and used the power of thunder to stop his teleportation. Apocalypse could only take Jane's flames. Knowing that he couldn't escape, Apocalypse said helplessly, "Everything is already destined." Perhaps Apocalypse had already predicted this day in the reincarnation of thousands of years. The phoenix transformed by flame spread its wings and chirped for the first time on this small planet. A big bird transformed by flames turned Apocalypse into the basic particles of air and dissipated in the air. Charles, we lost him. Charles is dead. After the dust settled, Hank returned to Charles and saw Moira crying beside Charles. "No, he is not dead. I can feel him." Jean walked to Charles' side, stroked his face, and used her ability to wake Charles up. After a while, Charles resumed breathing. "Thank you, Jane." Charles closed his eyes and laughed. "Charles, do you know where you are?" Moira asked, looking at Charles, who seemed not so clear in front of her. "At the beach, in Cuba, with you." Charles looked at Moira and said affectionately, but Moira didn't understand. "What beach?" Charles put his hand on Moira's head and chose to restore her previous memory. After experiencing this incident, Charles finally let it go. Moira saw everything that had happened before. They stopped the war together on the Cuban beach, and they met for the first time and became lovers. Moira couldn't help but shed tears. "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have erased your memory." Just when the two were getting sad, the Night Walker woke up and shouted suddenly, destroying the atmosphere between the two. The Night Walker looked at the smiles of the people around him and asked with a puzzled look, "What did I miss?" It seems that only under the protection of God can this global disaster be stopped. At the meeting tonight, the CIA agent revealed to the investigation team that Xavier was involved. When the public knew that Eric was also involved in the fight against this unknown mutant, they were surprised. The disaster was reported to be over all over the world. The retired professor and his party returned to the school, and all the students watched Jane and Eric rebuild the school. With the tacit cooperation of the two, the school building was built as fast as time went back. Eric is worthy of being the best architect in the world. Storm came to Quicksilver, who was limping and leaning on a cane, and asked curiously, Mystique said he is your father, will you tell him? Maybe, sooner or later. Now I just want to stay here for a while. Looking at the figure of his father in the sky, Quicksilver chose to talk about it later. Countries have begun to rebuild their arsenals. This is human nature, Charles. I still have hope for them. Charles was sitting in a wheelchair and talking to Eric. Ah, yes, hope. Hearing this, Eric laughed. I was right about Raven. I wasn't wrong about you either. Charles still felt that his previous thoughts were not wrong. What about this world? Haven't you ever woken up from your sleep, dreaming that one day they would come to find you and your students? I dreamed about it. Charles had no way to refute Eric's words. How do you feel after you wake up? For those poor people who come to our school to cause trouble, I can only feel deep sympathy for them. I know I can't convince you to stay. You can, Charles. You can convince me to do anything. Goodbye, Professor, and good luck. Didn't hear the answer he wanted from Charles' mouth. Eric chose to leave here just like before. Because of different ideas they can give their lives to save each other, but they can't do things together. Forget everything you knew before. Forget everything you learned in school, no matter how your parents taught you. All of this is not important. You are no longer children, and no longer students. You are X-Men. Chapter 660, Phoenix Power, Dawn of Justice. Correct answer, F. X-Men, Apocalypse, End. 5 minutes later, Dawn of Justice Phoenix. Janitor looked at the blooming phoenix on the screen in disbelief. I didn't expect to see a phoenix again. Peter asked, Janitor, have you seen a phoenix? No, I haven't. Janitor said, I've only seen it in my father's database. I don't think this phoenix is as pretty as Syrah. Hearing the words of the river god, Janitor asked with a puzzled look on her face, who is Syrah, the previous host of the Phoenix Force? No, Syrah is a budgie, let me tell you. Charles, Eric, I apologize to you. Maybe I haven't understood your pain all this time, but I believe we can still go hand in hand. Eric, don't be so corny, Charles. Janitor, no, Jane is the point. Strange, could it be that it is really the phoenix recorded in the ancient books of Kamataj? Thanos, legend has it that the Phoenix Force can burn an entire universe. Although Peter didn't know what the Phoenix Force was, the oppression brought to him by the Phoenix Phantom was particularly strong. He could feel the light from the Phoenix, which was a combination of rebirth and destruction. That was no less than the light of Noah. Peter himself was also stunned by this thought. How strong was Noah? A strong man who could change the history of the entire universe with a single thought! Exclamation mark. But the opponent's phantom actually gave him the feeling of Noah, which only showed one thing, that is, the opponent's body was at least not weaker than Noah. Gandalf, Thanos is right, that is the birth of the universe, the beginning of all things, chaotic but immortal, eternal but impermanent existence. He is the embodiment of life and soul, life and emotion in the original universe. Gandalf, he is the Phoenix Force. After Thanos recognized Janitor's identity, she confessed to everyone in the screening room. They all knew what kind of ruthless character Janitor's father was. As the daughter of Galactus, Janitor has been a god-level existence since her birth. It's probably that her starting line is farther than your finish line. It can even be said that when you are still preparing to start, she is already the referee. And since Janitor can show such an expression and use such a serious tone, everyone can guess it, even if they are just guessing. The power of the Phoenix must be the starting point of the multiverse. Yes, the multiverse. Peter seemed to have heard the voices of everyone, and said slowly, the power of the Phoenix is at least multiverse level. I can feel how powerful it is. It is no less powerful than Noah. No less powerful than Ultraman Noah. Who is Noah? He is recognized as one of the ceilings of the screening room, shoulder to shoulder with King AO. The Kingdom of Light Universe, Planet K76. Your little guy has been running around too much lately. Absolute. The King of Ultra sat down with a golden figure and drank tea. Tartarus is a good general of our Absolute clan. King Jin took a sip of tea and asked, where is Noah? Don't you usually go to him for tea? He said that in another universe, he would arrange a trial for the two clans, and then he would go. King Ultra changed the subject and asked, "What do you think of that phoenix? It's not weaker than us." King Jin still looked calm and composed, but not as strong as it. King Ultra instantly understood what the other party was talking about. King Ultra said, "That's not something we can deal with. It's meaningless for you to say that. You should have noticed that it has become active recently." Of course. King Ultra nodded and said, "I noticed it when the creation wand in the river god world went berserk. Sometimes I envy you." King Jin put down the teacup and said, "You can drink tea, chat, and watch shows here all day long. Actually, you can too. I have a more important mission on my shoulders. Bye." Watching King Jin leave, King Ao pondered for a long time and finally sighed, then quietly put away the tea set. In the screening room, Janitor was still introducing the power of the Phoenix to everyone. "My dad once talked to me about the Phoenix Force. He said that the Phoenix Force was shattered into a large piece and countless small pieces many years ago, when our universe was probably not yet born. But even a fragment so small that it almost does not exist compared to the Phoenix itself is enough to turn a galaxy about the size of the Milky Way into cosmic dust in a moment. And Jane, she is the host of the Phoenix Force in that world." Janitor said, "The Phoenix Force represents life and mind, life and emotion. The Phoenix Force has multiverse level telepathy and spiritual power. He is the link between the spiritual minds of all things that exist or will exist in the infinite multiverse, and is the creator and source of spiritual power. It is the storage container and ruler of the life and emotional energy of future generations of the entire infinite multiverse. So the Phoenix Force can exist in any time and space node in the multiverse, and can destroy a timeline or parallel universe at will." Dad said that, if he could eat a large enough fragment of the Phoenix Force, he might be able to completely solve his hunger problem. By then, he will be able to step into the peak of the single universe or even touch the multiverse, sublimate himself and become the only one. So, Jane's nightmare was not actually about apocalypse, but about the Phoenix Force. That's right. The flames of the Phoenix can create everything, and it can also destroy everything. Burning objects into molecules is a piece of cake for the Phoenix. As the host of the Phoenix Force, Jane will at least be a powerful person at the level of a single universe in the future. It's no joke that she will go all out to destroy a universe. Eric, in other words, Charles, you will soon accept that girl as your apprentice. Charles smiled bitterly. This is so exciting. A terrifying existence that can destroy the universe in the future will become his apprentice. This pressure is not ordinary. Bruce Wayne, then are there any rules for the Phoenix Force to select a host? If it is a mental power, Charles is also a possibility. His mental power is definitely not weak. Janitor, I don't know about this. My understanding of the Phoenix Force is also what my father told me. I think my father only knows so much. Anyway, the most important thing he told me is that, if there is a possibility of meeting a host of the Phoenix Force in the universe, run as far as you can. Now playing, Dawn of Justice. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 661, Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice. Dawn of Justice. This is a story about the mutual rescue of a person who has just embarked on this road and is beginning to get lost, and a person who has been on this road for too long and is beginning to get lost. Clark Kent joins the live broadcast room again. Clark, hello everyone, I'm back again. Bruce Wayne. Clark, have you dealt with Zod's affairs? Clark, yes, Zod has already started to select a suitable planet and will set out soon. Bruce nodded. With the Styx blood oath, he was not afraid that Zod would suddenly regret it. He even hoped that Zod would do so. Thanos, a story about the mutual rescue of a person who has just embarked on this road and is beginning to get lost, and a person who has been on this road for too long and is beginning to get lost. It's also related to Clark. Thanos. If Clark is the person who has just embarked on this road and is beginning to get lost, then the person who has been on the road for too long and is beginning to get lost. Ganatha, wait a minute, what road? Thanos. Dawn of Justice. Thanos did not know why he became a riddle man, but Bruce seemed to understand something. But the next second, Bruce's face suddenly changed. At a grand funeral, people in black coats carried the coffin towards the cemetery. A young child covered his tears and secretly fled from here. The people behind him called his name. Bruce, calm down. Bruce, don't do this. At this time, the sad Bruce didn't pay any attention to the people behind him and ran into the depths of the jungle alone. Bruce pushed away the layers of branches that blocked him and escaped from this place that made him sad. The scene came to before the funeral. Young Bruce and his parents were happily playing on the street. Their faces were full of smiles and looked so happy. But just as their family passed an alley at the corner of the street, a man who had been waiting for a long time came out of the corner with a gun. The robber raised his gun and pointed it at Bruce's family. Under the dark muzzle of the gun, Bruce's father showed his responsibility and father's responsibility, blocking the two behind him. Bruce continued to run in the jungle, and the dark forest seemed to have no end. Bruce Wayne, who was robbed, could only hide behind his father. The robber saw that Bruce's father was still trying to resist and subconsciously shot. The orange-yellow bullets sprayed out from the black muzzle. Bruce fell in the woods, stood up quickly, and continued to run in the woods. After a while, his feet were empty and fell into a pit in the woods. The boy fell in the air and subconsciously waved his hands in the air, trying to grab something that could help him stop falling. The bullet shell fell from the gun to the ground, and Bruce's father, who was hit by the bullet, fell backwards weakly. The crying mother looked at her fallen husband and mustered up the courage to rush towards the robber in front. She wanted to protect her child. The robber's cold gun pierced through the mother's long pearl necklace. With another gunshot, Bruce's mother also fell to the ground, and the pearl necklace was scattered all over the ground. In the desperate screams of the boy, the parents who died beside the boy, the robbers who escaped from here, the lonely boy, a dull night in Gotham, Bruce Wayne lost his parents forever. After Bruce fell from the sky in the pit, it took a long time for him to wake up from his coma. Dead branches and leaves covered his body. When he turned over and looked at the pit high above, his face was covered with scratches. The sound of animals from the depths of the pit attracted Bruce Wayne's attention. Bruce went to check carefully. Dense bats were hanging upside down in the cave deep underground. The boy looked at so many bats and couldn't help but screamed in fear. Although he covered his mouth in time, the bats, which were very sensitive to sound, still found him. Countless bats covered the sky and flew towards the little boy. At first, Bruce Wayne was very afraid that these bats would hurt him. He closed his eyes and waved his arms in panic, but after a while, he was not hurt as he imagined. After opening his eyes, Bruce Wayne was surprised to find that countless bats surrounded him and did not hurt him. On the contrary, these bats that looked hideous were very friendly. Bruce Wayne tried to stretch out his hands, and countless pairs of bats surrounded him. With the help of the bats, the young boy flew up and slowly rose from the dark underground towards a bright future. In my dream, they took me to the light, a beautiful lie, a wonderful transition. Most people are not stupid. They probably guessed what this meant. Bruce Wayne. The atmosphere in the screening room gradually became cold, and Janitor's mouth was stuffed with food from Peter and Hikaru on the left and right. Tony wanted to say something, but he didn't know what to say. Bruce once revealed that he was an orphan, but he didn't expect that his parents were killed when he was 8 years old and in front of Bruce. In the Metropolis incident, people recognized as in the passive voice, the existence of Superman. A helicopter flew down from the sky and landed on the helipad below the building. Bruce Wayne rushed down from it. After taking a look at the strange alien spaceship in the sky, he got into the car that his employees had prepared for him. Bruce Wayne drove the car on the street and just crossed a street when a building beside the street fell down in front of him. He could only change direction, but as soon as he turned around, the road in front was also covered by white dust. He could only turn again and take out the phone to ask his employees about the situation. Jack, who was working in the building, asked after receiving Bruce's call. "Listen, Jack, I ask you to notify everyone to evacuate the building immediately. Do you understand?" Bruce, who was still driving, said hurriedly. Jack on the other side saw the alien spaceship in the building. A laser easily destroyed a skyscraper. Get out. Everyone, hurry up. The boss asked us to evacuate the building. Everyone, hurry up. After seeing this scene, Jack realized the seriousness of the matter and hurriedly evacuated the staff in the building. Bruce passed through many obstacles. Because of the excellent defensibility of the car, he rushed through the streets and alleys. A huge alien spaceship crossed the buildings in the city. The skyscrapers that humans are proud of are like shoddy projects in front of it, and they will break with a slight touch. When Bruce rushed to the scene with all his strength, the streets were full of people. Bruce got out of the car to check the situation. The tall and strange alien spaceship that originally stood in the air seemed to have been destroyed by someone, causing a huge wave. The car could no longer move forward in such an environment. Bruce could only get out of the car and run, hoping that he could arrive in time. Jack, who was still in the building, watched a building in front of him collapse inexplicably. A person in a red cloak seemed to fly in front of him and disappeared after a blink of an eye. It was like his illusion. Sorry, the line is busy. Please call back later. Bruce Wayne saw a hot laser cutting the building not far away. Worried about Jack's safety, he called to get news from him. Almighty God. Almighty Creator. Bless my soul. The laser passed by Jack and destroyed everything it touched. The reinforced concrete building was cut into pieces like a piece of butter. Humans could only pray for God's blessing in the face of such a natural disaster. Jack. Watching the building where Jack was fall, Bruce Wayne couldn't help but ran desperately towards the building. The dust from the building's fall swept in. People around were fleeing from here. Only Bruce Wayne rushed into the white fog. This is the story of Man of Steel, and it's from my perspective. Bruce looked at himself on the screen with a cold face, driving a car and frantically avoiding the destruction on the street. If Bruce felt the destructive power of the opponent when he first saw Man of Steel, then now, Bruce felt his powerlessness as an ordinary person in the face of such a thing. Yes, powerlessness. Whether it was Bruce Wayne, the billionaire and the richest man in the world, or Batman, the strongest human of the Dark Knight, facing the natural disaster like destruction caused by Zod and Clark, he could only feel deeply powerless. What are you doing? Tony couldn't help asking. Even if Bruce had his own battlesuit, it wouldn't be of much use in that environment. The steel battlesuit was as brittle as paper and as thin as a cicada's wing in front of the real steel body. I have a company and a building in Metropolis, and I'm going to save my employees. Everyone admired this statement. At least, Bruce, as a boss, is quite humane. Note 1. After entering, the thick dust hindered the realization. The visibility inside was very low. Bruce Wayne even saw a horse passing in front of him. Mr. Wayne. Mr. Wayne. My legs are numb. My legs are numb. Not far away, Bruce's employees had their legs pressed down by a thick steel bar. They lay on the ground in pain, shouting his name and begging for help. Help. Seeing the employee's miserable state, Bruce Wayne hurried forward to try to help him, but unfortunately the steel bar was too heavy for him to move alone. Help me. My legs. My legs. The employee grabbed Bruce's hand and screamed in pain. You'll be fine, right? Wallace. How do they usually call you? Wally? Bruce had no choice but to comfort him. You have the final say, boss. Wallace also knew that Wayne had no way out. At this time, several people came to help him and followed Bruce Wayne to move the steel bar and drag Wallace out. Got, my legs are numb, my god. Wallace, who was rescued, could not feel his legs and could only repeat the fact of this tragedy. After rescuing Wallace, Bruce Wayne saw a girl standing alone in the ruins not far away, and a dangerous building seemed to fall down above her head. It was a piece of steel bar, which happened to form a cross. The cross fell, and was about to crush the suffering mortal. The little girl was still standing there stupidly, not realizing the danger. At this time, Bruce saw this scene, and rushed over to hug the little girl, to avoid the dangerous cross. It's okay, it's okay. Don't be afraid, okay? We will definitely find your mother. Bruce Wayne comforted the poor girl in front of him, looking at her alone, and asked, where is she? The little girl didn't speak or cry, but just pointed in a direction. Bruce Wayne looked in the direction she pointed. It was a building that had been half destroyed. There was no need to ask now. The girl's mother was in danger. Bruce could only hold her in his arms and stared at the situation in the sky with his eyes wide open. Countless flaming meteors fell from the sky and hit the dense buildings in the city. In the sky, Superman and General Zod were fighting. The reason for all this destruction was because of them. Bruce Wayne, if I kill you in the next story, I will not apologize to you. Clark. Constantine. God thought he was saving the world, but the world only saw destruction. Amen. Clark looked at everything on the screen. He had never thought of looking at himself from the perspective of an ordinary person, but it turned out to be like this. He thought he was saving the Earth, although he was indeed saving the Earth. But some people were still affected by the disaster. He knew that he was not a god, but all this was not what he wanted to see. If he could pull his opponents to a deserted place during the battle. Looking at Bruce's angry eyes on the screen, Clark knew that he could not hide the look of wanting to kill someone. Fortunately, all this has not happened yet. Thanks to the changes brought about by the projection room, everything is different. Zod did not land in Metropolis at all, and he did not fight Zod. Even the Earth and Krypton signed a friendly agreement. All this is moving in a good direction, isn't it? Although Clark felt a chill in his heart for what Bruce said, he did not think that Clark could kill himself without the help of the projection room. Wait a minute. Clark suddenly thought of something. The screening room said before, this is a story about the mutual rescue of a person who has just embarked on this road and is beginning to get lost, and a person who has been on this road for too long and is beginning to get lost. Could it be that Bruce is the person who has been on this road for too long? Note 1. Maybe the more you lack something, the more you have to show it. Anyway, Bruce is a really good boss and is really good to his employees. Let's not talk about Batman. At least if you work for Bruce, you don't have to worry about being regarded as an excellent talent and being sent to society. Chapter 662. 18 months later. No matter how dumb Clark is, he knows Bruce's other identity, which is the former Dark Knight of Gotham City, Batman. Batman has been active for many years. Clark is younger than Bruce. When Bruce just debuted, Clark had just experienced the pain of losing his father. In the days that followed, Bruce gradually disappeared, and Clark chose to continue to live that ordinary life until the screening room made them meet. I modified Bruce's timeline in the first chapter. Look, DC Comics have changed Bruce's origins, so it is reasonable for me to slightly modify the timeline, right? Image continues. 18 months later, somewhere in the Indian Ocean, two men are sitting on a small boat. One man is wearing diving equipment and is ready to go into the water. In the distance is the endless ocean. The man dives into the water and ties the rope to something on the seabed and salvages the item on the boat. After the two people came to the shore with this item, a professor smashed the surface to reveal the emerald green kryptonite. In Nairobi, Africa, Louise, wearing a black hood, was taken down from the car by a man with a gun. The man took the two people in the car to the building. Louise calmly walked to the terrorist, took out her notebook, sat on the ground and asked, "Are you a terrorist, General?" They didn't tell me that the reporter was a woman. The black man wearing sunglasses looked at the calm woman in front of him and asked, "I'm not a woman, I'm a reporter." Louise answered calmly, and the person who came with him took out a camera to shoot. The people here stopped him and took away the camera in his hand. "I'm a person who loves my people, and I have nothing else." Louise talked to the so-called general. "Don't open it, you just exposed." The man wanted to stop the people here from opening the camera, but he didn't expect that the man would not open it and threw the camera on the ground. "Who pays these mercenaries, General?" Louise heard the noise and turned her head to take a look. "Who pays for those drones flying over our heads?" "Everything has a reason, doesn't it?" The mercenary on the side grabbed the photographer's camera and started looking through it. On the other side, Louise started chatting with the general. "As for your country's civil war, America has announced that it will remain neutral in both policy and principle." Tony sneered at this. As one of the former largest arms chiefs of America, Tony knew how funny this sentence was. The value of this sentence was as delicious as looking up at the stars. These hypocritical and beautiful lies are spoken like the truth. The general sneered and said, "People with power will neither follow policies nor principles. Miss Ryan, everyone is the same. No one is neutral. This is also the most important reason why I think you are a threat, Clark. Bruce spoke directly to Clark because Clark could not take action against the Earthlings anyway. Bruce Wayne, your power is too strong for the Earth. Constantine is right. You are indeed saving the Earth, but you are a huge threat to the Earth. You can even destroy the Earth inadvertently, just by stretching your body, or taking a breath. Bruce Wayne, in front of you, humans are as fragile as ants. No, ants can drown humans, but no matter how many humans there are, they can't hurt you. Clark, in the Batcave, Clark wanted to refute, but he didn't know how to say it. This was the fundamental reason why his adoptive father didn't want him to show his abilities. Now that it was exposed, Clark knew Bruce's attitude towards him very well. Bruce was trying to find a way to kill him. On the other side, the mercenary found a special tool in the camera, then raised it, and said to the person next to him, CIA. They are tracking us. You are so brave. The terrorists here rioted instantly, pressed the man who came with Louise to the ground, took out their weapons, and pointed them at him. Louise was also controlled. It's none of her business. I just used her identity as a cover. She doesn't know anything. After explaining, the man comforted Louise. It's okay, Louise. General, there are other solutions to this problem. As a result, Jimmy was executed by the general with a gun the next second. A gunshot rang out, and Louise trembled all over. After realizing that their people had died, the contact personnel outside immediately reported and asked to stop the drone airstrike, because there was another civilian Louise inside, but they only received an order to stay on the spot, so they disobeyed the order magnificently. After dealing with the man, Louise was taken into the room, and she was not executed on the spot. I really don't know. Ignorance does not mean innocence, Miss Ryan. After hearing what Louise said, the black general was not ready to let him go. The people who were outside were suddenly attacked by mercenaries. This mercenary turned out to be a member of the US military. Caught off guard, the number of people belonging to the general was decreasing. The general who was in the room grabbed Louise directly after hearing the gunshots, pointed a pistol at her, and held her hostage, although he didn't know that the other party's mission was to kill people. Hostages were meaningless to them, and even the CIA agent Jimmy who died before was a pawn. Since this was a surprise attack, these people easily solved them, and left here on motorcycles. When they left, drones and missiles launched by drones appeared in the sky. Boom. A red and blue figure blasted the missiles at a faster speed, and then blasted the drones at will, but both the mercenaries and the general sitting in the command room showed intriguing smiles. The roof was pierced by Superman's strong body, and the god of the world descended here. If you dare to take another step, I will blow her head off. Looking at Superman falling from the sky, the black general could only threaten him with the hostages in his hands. When Lois saw Superman coming, her rapid breathing slowly calmed down. She looked at Superman's eyes and nodded in understanding. In front of Superman's speed, the black general couldn't react at all and was directly killed by Superman. Loki saw this scene and instantly understood something. Chapter 663, when in doubt, throw the mountain away first. It's good to be used by the Ape King. Loki Odinson, Clark, you were calculated by that group of humans, although I don't know what value this kind of boring calculation has. Clark, calculation? What calculation? Loki Odinson, this matter is a lie from beginning to end, a trap, just to frame you. Loki Odinson, why did the group of mercenaries kill CIA agent Jimmy and then attack the general's men? Why is the reporter who came this time Lois Lane? And why are there reporters with the follow-up troops? Loki Odinson, because they want to pour this basin of dirty water on you. No, this is not to pour their dirty water on you at all. This is prepared for you. Clark, why? Loki Odinson, because of your identity. You are an alien with powerful power, and not controlled by the human government. Do you remember the drone you shot down at the end of Man of Steel? This behavior must have angered the human government that wants to control you, so they chose to use this method to throw dirty water on you. Wanda, wait, I think I understand. They are not going to judge Clark in this way. Holy Lord, wait, I understand too. Cheo, I'm dying of laughter. This is the funniest joke I have heard in thousands of years. A group of ants are actually going to judge the god of the human world, who can easily destroy your world. You actually want to judge him? Exclamation mark. Eric, if Clark is not from the lawful camp, they are courting their own death. Who do they think they are? A strong man with the same power as Clark. A group of weak people want to kill the strong man with words? It's ridiculous. Thanos, that's what they think. I guess they must have done some analysis of Clark's psychology to do this. If Clark is really the kind of madman who is easily angry and does things without considering the consequences and even kills a few people for no reason, they will only try their best to stabilize Clark's emotions because they cannot guarantee that Clark, who has such terrifying power, will not put the butcher knife to his neck in the next second. Thanos, but Clark is not. He is a good person in the true sense. He is very kind and merciful. His mental state is very stable, and he has enough patience and a broad mind, so they dare to test Clark's bottom line. Clark, thank you for your compliment. Thanos, let's talk about the facts and tell the truth. If they notice your dissatisfaction in the next action, they will definitely withdraw the battle line instantly and wait for you to recover your mood and then test your bottom line little by little. Gandalf, why? I don't understand. Thanos, because they don't have the power to kill Clark directly. They can only use this method to determine how far they can provoke Clark. If Clark doesn't get angry this time, then the next test will be even more excessive until Clark gets angry. Janitor, aren't they afraid of angering Clark's brother? Wanda, Janitor, humans are such creatures. Although I'm also a human, I have seen humans regard others' tolerance and generosity as examples of weakness. Janitor, I still can't understand. Loki Odinson, it doesn't matter, you will understand. Clark, now that I haven't had such a terrible battle with Zod in Metropolis, the human government shouldn't come to me, right? Bruce Wayne, they have come to me, but I stopped them. Clark, when? Bruce Wayne, when we come back from Zod's spaceship. Clark, sorry, I think I can solve it myself. Bruce Wayne, you can't solve it. The reason why you on the screen were tempted instead of being taken to the laboratory for experiments was that the power you showed was too terrifying and frightened them. Now you don't have this kind of performance. In their eyes, you are just a living experimental specimen, a walking wealth, and a stepping stone to enter the interstellar society. Mr. Clark. Alfred brought Clark a cup of black tea and said, the government is actually urging us to hand over the person. The next step is public opinion. The master has been busy for a long time, but even the Wayne group can't face the pressure of the whole world. I'm sorry. Clark held the black tea, his heart was churning, and he was not calm. What should I do? Should I fight him in Metropolis? Diana asked while biting a piece of cake. Alfred shook his head quickly. Bruce spent so much effort just not to want the Earth to be destroyed. Now it's good. Before, there was Zod to take the blame. Now if they fight, they will be finished. Thanos, why can the Shire Empire become one of the 3 major empires in the universe, or even the first of the 3 major empires in the universe? It's all because the muzzle of the Shire Empire's Star Destroyer is big enough. If you don't want to be threatened, I have 2 ideas. 1, you go to Zod who has already left the Earth, and 2, you show enough strength. Thanos, Zod has already left the Earth, and he has a spaceship in the eyes of the Earthlings. He is a great force, or you can show enough strength to make them fear you. Holy Lord, I have a suggestion. You can just move a mountain and throw it into the human city. If it doesn't work once, do it a few times. When humans find that they can't do anything to you, they will naturally stop. Clark, no. Too many innocent people will die this way. Seeing Clark's reply, Bruce nodded. Thanos, throwing a mountain is fine. Throw it into the sea, the center of the Pacific Ocean. Control the force a little when throwing it, and create a tsunami that is not too big or small to scare them. Clark, is there no option that does not cause damage to the Earth? Loki Odinson, then you can go to another place. Since humans have satellite technology, you can go to the moon and just punch it twice to break it into pieces. They will naturally be scared. Bruce Wayne, the moon affects the Earth's tides. This is even worse. Agwang, then, Mars? Loki Odinson, why don't you throw Mercury into the sun? Tony Stark, I don't think you have forgotten about Radius's wall-facing plan so quickly. Loki, you say, do you have to be a seeking to chase girls? The training class I paid for kept asking me to refresh on Tantan, to find girls to chat. I felt sick and wanted to vomit when I saw the girls on Tantan. But they said that, if you want to chase girls, you have to chat. When you chat more, you won't care about the small piece of sky before, but I came to learn it for her. Chapter 664, Throwing Dirty Water. Image continues. The women in the village heard a strange sound, as if the sky had cracked open. He flew down, and many people died. What happened later was even more terrible. The government army began to attack and did not spare even innocent villagers, including my parents. At the government hearing, the survivors of the previous incident painfully recounted what happened at the time. The whole world only saw Superman's ability, but ignored the responsibilities he should bear. The hearing group will make a judgment on him, based on this record. Senator Finch said seriously that the government will make a judgment on Superman. He will not listen to you at all. He will not listen to anyone, and he does not even take God into consideration. But the survivors at the meeting felt that no one could punish Superman. Loki Odinson, TSK, it started. They started to throw dirty water. Peter Parker, this is moral kidnapping. Tony Stark, they just need a legitimate reason. If the coroner is useful, there will be no laundry detergent. In the Gotham Police Department, 2 police officers were watching the football match between Metropolis and Gotham. Because the best football player on the Gotham side retired, it seemed that he had a car accident. In this match, Metropolis almost unilaterally beat the Gotham team. Just then, the alarm call rang. A police car speeding on the street startled a large number of bats. The police officers who received the alarm call came to a hidden place. Several police officers got off the car with weapons and flashlights. Pushing open the door, they found a bat dart inserted in a conspicuous position at the door. The police in front took a rifle to clear the way in front, and the police behind used flashlights for cover. The 2 people groped forward cautiously, and they walked down the stairs, and saw a group of women imprisoned in the dungeon. It saved us. A devil. The police looked at the ragged people, and could only comfort them. It's okay. It's okay. We are here to help you. We are here to help you. He saved us. Let's take you away from here, okay? The police calmed the hostages, and wanted to open the door that imprisoned them, but were stopped by the woman inside. A woman pressed her face tightly against the cage, stretched out a finger, and pointed at the top of her head with trembling hands. The trembling voice proved how uneasy this woman's heart was. It's still here. I don't understand. The police didn't understand why the girl stopped him. The girl pointed her finger at the sky. The police looked up and saw nothing. At this moment, a heart-wrenching scream was heard. A group of police were all frightened, and one of them hurried over to check. The screams continued to ring, and even made people wonder and fear what kind of inhumane abuse the person who made such a scream had suffered. Please, I don't know who he is. Who he is? The policeman rushed over with a flashlight, and only heard a man's voice. No. When he was halfway there, he heard a man's cry, which frightened him so much that he trembled all over. The policeman rushed to the source of the sound with a gun in hand, and only saw a man tied to the wall. After looking around, he found Batman hanging on the wall. Batman turned into a black shadow and moved quickly. The policeman shot one after another in panic, but he did not hit Batman. Batman left here easily, and the overly nervous policeman almost shot his companion. Oh my god. The companion who was almost shot was angry. I saw him. I don't know. You almost smashed my face. Can you not hit the good people? The angry companion did not listen to him, and the 2 checked the man chained to the wall. Oh my god. It left a mark. The naked man was left with a bad mark by Batman. Clark, what did you do to him? Clark swallowed his saliva. Anyone who heard that cry would feel cold in their hearts. Even though Clark believed that Bruce did not have the ability to kill him, this did not stop him from being afraid of Bruce. Bruce Wayne, fear. In Metropolis, Lois returned to her home, took out the received letters from downstairs, and opened her door with her suitcase. After returning home, she first filled the bathtub with water. Then she opened her notebook and took a device from it with a knife. Louise held the device and lay in the bathtub, looking at it thoughtfully, and put it in her small bag. Just then Clark came back with flowers in his hand and saw Lois bathing in the bathtub. "Hey, I was planning to cook and prepare a surprise for you." Clark indicated that the flowers in his hand were a gift for Lois. They held a hearing on what happened, and everyone is saying. Louise looked at her boyfriend and told him the bad news she knew. "I don't care. I don't care what they said. My beloved woman was almost killed. Think about the possible consequences." Superman Clark doesn't care about other people's opinions. He is still angry about what happened before. Think about the consequences. I didn't kill those people. No matter what others say, I only care about your thoughts. Superman looked at his girlfriend with deep affection. "My idea is that I want to find out what happened. My idea is to thank you for saving me, but this matter is definitely not over yet." Lois felt that this matter might not end so easily. "I don't know if it's possible." "What is possible?" "Love me and be yourself." Hearing his girlfriend's words, Clark was silent. He did not choose to answer directly and took out the flowers he bought. After the two smiled at each other, they skipped this topic. Clark was very cheerful, but Bruce had a completely different style. Bruce Wayne returned to his home and saw that his butler was still busy. He asked, "Still busy? You are old and slow, Alfred." "I'm not in a good condition today. I feel dizzy and heavy. It's still 4,000. I can't even bear it." Chapter 665, Kryptonite. "Everyone will grow old, Master Wayne. You have long passed the age of premature death. Aren't you still working hard for it?" Hearing Batman's complaints, the butler who was still working refuted Bruce. After that, Alfred picked up the microphone and recited a few tongue twisters, confirming that there was no problem with the microphone, but the problem was that the outer layer of the new armor seemed to have some problems and had to be rewired. "Tell me what new discoveries last night." "No, he is too low level and knows nothing. This person must know a lot of things." Anatoly Knyazov, a Russian. His business is spread all over the world, and his base is in Gotham-Port, to sell weapons and people. Bruce didn't gain anything last night, but he found a better target. "I will follow this Russian to find that guy. Even if that guy is really a person, it's hard to say whether he exists. Maybe it's just a rumor." The butler still thinks Batman is too suspicious at the moment. "Rumor has it that Gotham City will be attacked by a nuclear bomb." Bruce Wayne told the rumor he heard. "That's terrible." Hearing this, the butler understood Batman's behavior. Have the rules changed? The butler threw today's newspaper in front of Bruce, on which two policemen dragged a criminal with the Batman mark. "We are criminals. We have always been criminals, and we have never changed." "It has changed, sir. Everything has changed." The butler turned the screen in front of him to the picture of Superman flying in the air at that time. "They fell from the sky, the gods threw thunder and lightning, and innocent people died. This is just the beginning. That kind of fanatical anger and the feeling of powerlessness will make good people become cruel." The butler lamented that the appearance of Superman changed the existing situation. Justice has been served at the harbor. The police have discovered a suspected drug dealer. He was tortured by the Gotham Bat and left marks on his body. This person is the second criminal to be marked by the Bat. The first criminal was accused of child trafficking and attacked in prison. He is currently seriously injured and is still in intensive care. An insider revealed to Metro News that if a prisoner in prison has a Bat mark, it is like a death sentence for him. "Did you do all this?" "It was me in that world," Bruce Wayne said. "I still haven't changed." Bruce Wayne looked at the news on the screen. Of course, he knew what had changed about himself in that world. What had changed was his code of conduct. He was about to abandon the principle of not killing. "Alfred, that world is different from our world. The two Alfreds are completely different." This point was recognized by everyone. As the oldest member of the live broadcast room and the screening room, Arthur was usually very silent. When he came to the screening room, he stood silently behind Bruce. However, everyone had a deep impression of Arthur. This old gentleman was always polite and gentle, just like a kind old man looking at his younger generation and taking care of Bruce for decades. Compared with Alfred on the screen, not only is there a difference in appearance, but also in personality. Arthur is much more silent, while the Alfred on the screen is more active. Lex Luthor, the boss of Lex Group, was playing basketball when a group of people came over. After seeing the people, Luthor said, "I'm sorry, I didn't see you coming." The boss of Lex Group. It's strange, isn't it? My father named the company after him, so this name is his. Hello. Luthor's thoughts were very jumpy. He was still talking about other things, and the next second he talked about something else. Great. Lex Luthor? Bruce looked at Luthor on the screen carefully and said, "I didn't expect him to look like this in another universe." What does he look like? Nothing. I also know Luthor in our universe. He was born with a disease, so he has always been bald. I didn't expect that in another universe. He not only has long hair, but also wine red. After greeting the two, Luthor led everyone away from here, introducing them as they walked. One of my urban reconstruction team members found it. A small souvenir from the Kryptonian fleet. Luthor took them to the laboratory, said a bunch of incomprehensible words, and then introduced a stone. This is a product of Krypton's world engine. It is a gift left to us by the Kryptonians. I named it Kryptonite. What does the stone have to do with national security? The congressman looked at the stone and asked curiously. National security? No, ma'am. It's planetary security. This is a radioactive extraterrestrial mineral body. We suspect it can produce biological interactions. So we sent it to the military, because they have the remains of the descendants of Krypton. When we brought the sample close to the remains of General Zod, a miracle occurred. The deep biodegradation can quickly age the nemesis cells. The researcher on the side explained what kind of effect this stone can have. So we think, if there are enough stones, we can use them as weapons. It's like a giant whale in a school of fish. Look. It's lying on the bottom of the Indian Ocean. It's a beautiful and radioactive little guy. You need to issue an important license. Luthor finally told them the purpose of inviting them here. But why do we want to turn it into a weapon? The congressman was still a little hesitant at this moment. A means of deterrence, like a spare silver bullet, to guard against the threat of Kryptonians. Silver bullet. This is not a typo. It is the only weapon that can kill werewolves in mythology, so it is also used to refer to the only weapon that can kill Clark. Because of what happened to his father, Luthor's mood became more and more high. If I remember correctly, the only one flying around our heads is Superman. Another male congressman sighed and pointed his finger to the sky. That's right, Superman. But there will be more in the future. Typical superhuman theory. The female congressman was very disdainful of this view. Yes, it's superhuman theory. These superhumans may live among us, and the various gods described in various myths are actually them. There is no need to use silver bullets now, but if we have them, then we don't have to look at the faces of superhumans. Chapter 666. More updates. Kryptonite. Bruce's eyes lit up. He was not afraid of difficulties, but he was afraid of unsolvable problems. As long as there was a solution to this problem, he could find a solution. Kryptonite. Although there was already a Styx blood oath, who knows if there would be any unexpected situation, such as someone intercepting Clark's cells and artificially creating an artificial Kryptonian. If this artificial Kryptonian was unrestrained and destroyed the Earth, then he had to find a way to deal with it. Image continues. Luthor's words aroused the interest of the male congressman. After thinking about it again and again, they reached an agreement. One of them obtained the Kryptonian relics, and the price was to help them create weapons that could restrain, or even kill Clark. Kryptonian spacecraft, and Zod's body. These were Lex Luthor's conditions. He didn't even give the other party a plan to think about, and directly unilaterally decided on this agreement. His crazy and extremely rational appearance even made people wonder if he had studied in Arkham for a period of time. Seeing Zod's body being handed over to Luthor for experiments, Clark turned around and flew out, saying that he wanted to calm down. This visual impact is somewhat hellish. Fortunately, I didn't let all this happen. Zod didn't die, the world engine didn't start, and there is no such thing as kryptonite in this world. In a park commemorating Superman saving the city, a person in a wheelchair looked at the marble statue of Superman with anger in his eyes. He is Wallace, the man whose legs were broken by steel bars in the Battle of Metropolis. Wallace survived after being rescued from the ruins by Bruce before, but his legs had to be amputated. Because of the loss of his legs, Wallace could only stay at home. Wale slid his wheelchair to the bottom of the Superman statue, climbed up directly with the help of the statue's right hand, and started spraying paint on it. The god of the world stretched out his hand to spread his kindness to the world, but Wallace only had resentment in his heart. In his opinion, it was Superman who ruined his life. Louise saw the live news in the office, which was Wallace venting his dissatisfaction with the Superman statue and spraying a big logo on the Superman statue. That's what the false god meant. Loki Odinson, Clark, you should let the stupid and insignificant humans see your power and punish the mortal who disrespected you. Clark, first of all, the Battle of Metropolis did not happen. Secondly, I never thought I was a god. Finally, Wallace was just venting his dissatisfaction. I don't think it's offensive to me. The statue is Superman, and I'm just Clark Kent, a small newspaper reporter and farmer. The video continues. Clark took over the interview with the so-called victim's family, but when he found the woman's address, based on the information, the other party had disappeared. Some people said she left, and some people said she was left. A black uncle told Clark that for the sake of his life and perhaps his chastity, Clark had better leave here before dark. Don't listen to his nonsense. Another female resident came over and said only those with a guilty conscience would be afraid of encountering him. His methods have become more and more vicious. He is very angry, and he is hunting. The black uncle showed Clark the cardboard in his hand, on which there was a black bat drawn. What did you do to them? I said it's a long time ago. I brought fear to the criminals. Bruce said calmly, if they have committed crimes in Gotham, it is normal to be afraid of me. Make the criminals afraid? Yes, make them feel fear. Loki Odinson, ha ha ha. You are the same. Bruce Wayne. Loki Odinson, when your fists and feet are not enough to bring fear, the next step is killing and blood. Bruce Wayne, I won't kill. Loki Odinson, I said before, if you kill Clark, you won't apologize. Loki rarely got the upper hand. He took advantage of Bruce's unwillingness to reveal his inner thoughts, which meant that he did not recognize Clark's identity as an Earthling, because he knew that Bruce would not and could not provoke Clark. That would be courting death. Image continues, like the terrorist targets of the dictatorship, this bad vigilante has been keeping an eye on the docks and the surrounding related targets and housing areas. As far as I know, the police are actually helping him, and Gotham's crime rate is soaring. Superman Clark spoke about the news he wanted to write at the meeting of the Daily Planet. Gotham's crime wave. Other explosive news. Water is wet. Have you finished writing the article about football? What does this mean? Why don't I understand? Bruce's face was normal. As an old Gotham bat flag, he could of course hear the sarcasm and pun of editor-in-chief Perry. Gotham's crime rate. This really has the same eye-catching effect as the water is wet. In his world, if a newspaper publishes news such as Gotham's recent high crime rate, they will be laughed at by their peers. Such news is not even as attractive as someone's cat's death. Image continues. Hearing Clark's news idea, the supervisor sneered and questioned whether he had completed today's task. Why don't we report this? Because poor people don't buy newspapers? Kind Clark doesn't understand why newspapers don't write about this. The supervisor chuckled and shook his head and said, no one buys newspapers now, Kent. Perry, when you assign tasks, you are choosing who is important and who is worth reporting. Clark seems to understand something. Finally got it, silly boy. America's conscience has long been happy with Kennedy. The supervisor understands more about what the American people like to see now. This is a fucking era of entertainment to death. As an editor-in-chief, Perry is more concerned about how to keep the newspaper alive. If possible, he also wants to add a conscience and moral bottom line to survive. Perry has done a good job. This is the era. Sorry to bother you. Unfortunately, my friends in the lab have never seen this kind of thing. Louise pushed open the door and walked in, handing something in a bag to the supervisor. It's called a bullet and is used to kill people. Faced with Perry's complaints, Louise said seriously, the shell was found at the scene of the firefight in the desert. No one in the world is selling it, not even on the black market. So, who would give this kind of military prototype bullet to the Tuareg tribe warriors in the Sahara Desert? Louise excitedly told her latest discovery. She felt that there was shocking news in it. You are a reporter. Tell me with your intuition. I think America is stirring up trouble on both sides, providing weapons to the rebels on one side and helping the government forces on the other. Okay, Louise, just tell me the results of your interview. The supervisor didn't want to hear these words and was not interested in the origin of this bullet. He knew how deep the water was. He, Perry, is middle-aged, has a wife and children, and just wants to live a life of ease and food. Nothing more. He just wants to live to retire and enjoy his old age. But the people under him are either incompetent and worthless, slacking off all day and waiting to die, and then thinking of finding someone to go to the game with him at night, regardless of gender, as long as they look good, or they are too capable and want to stir up trouble every day to make a big news. MD Louise went to fight aliens with the military last time, but it hasn't stopped for a long time. Fly to Washington tonight and stay there for a few days. Looking at Louise, Perry agreed and said, no upgrades in economy class, no extra seats. Premium economy class. Don't even think about it. Economy comfort class. No, just coach class. Before Louise left, Perry told her and Clark that the Metropolitan Library's charity event required Clark to report at this time. Perry seems to have something else in his words. It's hard not to associate Perry's words with that old woman's love for the nerd. No, this is Luthor's idea. Luthor? Yes, Lex Luthor. The congresswoman came to Luthor's house in the middle of the night. Senator, would you like some bourbon before lunch? My driver is outside. I can't stay along. Don't Kentucky girls like you drink whiskey? My father always said that Kentucky malt liquor is the secret to staying healthy. This was his room and I have kept it the same. If I keep everything the same, maybe one day my father will come back. It's silly. Orphan's whimsical ideas. After the congressman came to the door, Luthor talked about some incomprehensible things on his own. Facing Luthor, who might have drunk too much, the congressman said, I can't approve your import of minerals from outer space. The congresswoman rejected Luthor's previous request, and the atmosphere in the room fell into silence. Luthor thought for a while, and tapped the glass in his hand with his fingers. The red cape is coming. The red cape is coming. Luthor came to the seat next to the congressman and slapped the table. You and your hearings hurriedly walked the streets to warn us. One light represents the land, and two lights represent the air. Luthor's words became faster and faster, and his fingers also accelerated the rhythm of slapping the table. As the frequency increased, the congresswoman pressed his hand with her hand. Do you know the biggest lie in American history? Senator, can I just call you Joan? You can call me whatever you want. You can call him Grandma's peach tea with a pot of urine. Calling weapons that kill innocent people deterrents. You can't fool anyone. I won't be fooled. What Luthor said just now aroused the anger and fear of the congressman. The fear of Superman has always been engraved in their minds. My dad won't mind, right? If I move something in his room, it's because that thing should be upside down. Now it feels better, doesn't it? Demons don't come from hell, no, they come from heaven. There is an oil painting hanging on the wall, which depicts the story of angels coming to the world to destroy demons. Chapter 667. The disease is still not cured. Interesting. Looking at the painting upside down, it looks like the devil defeated the angel. Constantine said, it's a very interesting angle. The devils are not from the hell below. No, they are from the sky. He is referring to Clark. The video continues. In front of the familiar cemetery, Bruce Wayne brought a bouquet of flowers and came here to pay tribute to his parents. It's just that the sky is a little unreal, as if this place is not real. The fallen leaves fell on Bruce's body. He came to his parents' tombstone with a solemn face and put the flowers in the vase. Bruce looked at his mother's tombstone with nostalgia. Suddenly, a black liquid flowed out from the gap. Bruce reached out and touched it. Some liquid stuck to his hand. Just when he was curious about what it was, the tombstone in front of him suddenly exploded, and countless bats flew out from the gap. A very strange looking thing with a bat head bit his neck. With a scream, Bruce woke up and found himself lying naked on the bed. It turned out that everything that happened just now was a dream. Bruce panted and gradually calmed down. He took a glass of wine from the bed and drank it. I don't want the next generation of the Wayne family to inherit an empty wine cellar. The next day, Alfred said this when he helped Bruce clean up the room. It's as if there will be a next generation. Bruce handed Alfred a cup of coffee and told him that all the clues pointed to a so-called white Portuguese. This was every call made by the Russians' mobile phone, 2 of which involved the white Portuguese, and they were also transmitting hidden data to this private residence. Alexander Luthor. Everything pointed to Luthor. Do you think Lex Luthor is the white Portuguese? I don't believe he needs to make money by importing arms. Alfred thinks Bruce's guess is unreasonable. Luthor does not need to obtain money through such means. Anyway, I need to install a bug in his room, and I need a battle suit. Bats have interrogated 6 people but got nothing. It was Bruce Wayne who got the information. But Bruce Wayne can't break into Lex Luthor's house without permission. Bruce Wayne doesn't need to break in. He was invited. Alfred rejected Bruce's proposal and gave him an invitation letter which read, "Please come to Alexander Luthor at 7 p.m. on November 1st. Bruce Wayne looked at his battle suit and fell into deep thought. In the end, he did not use it. On another battle suit next to him, someone spray painted "You're a joke, Batman" in yellow paint. Does the bat have any special meaning? I was scared by bats when I was very young, so I had a certain psychological trauma. Later, I went around to learn from masters. One of my masters told me that I had to learn to face my fear, so I designed my battlesuit to look like a bat. Luckily, Bruce's psychological trauma when he was a child was not a cockroach. Bruce lowered his head and didn't want to talk. He thought of Robin. That dress reminded him of Robin. The video continues. Drive a Loki car. Then a Rolls Royce will do. Going upstairs and lifting the cloth covering the car, Bruce drove to Luthor's residence in a customized Rolls Royce. After arriving at the address at midnight, the service staff took him out of the car. There are many reporters now, and they will not miss this opportunity. The flashlights flashed wildly, and Bruce Wayne became the focus of the audience. As soon as he got out of the car, "Who is that?" Clark looked at Bruce Wayne, who attracted everyone's attention as soon as he arrived, and asked his companions around him, "This is your first time in such an occasion." "He is Bruce Wayne." The companion beside him had a speechless and awkward smile on his face. A guy who was in Metropolis didn't even know Bruce Wayne. The beautiful host of the party welcomed Luthor to give a speech. Luthor appeared amid the cheers and applause of the crowd. Mr. Lex Luthor, a great philanthropist and bibliophile, a true friend of Metropolitan Library. Alright, I'll say. "Nikki, you really put me in a difficult position." Luthor first went on stage and hugged the beautiful host. Diana appeared in a backless red dress off the stage. Diana was also slightly stunned when she saw herself on the screen. In this world, she was just an ordinary museum staff member and a special reporter for the Daily Planet. Lex Luthor actually invited her, but Diana was not a fool. She soon guessed a possibility, that is, it was very likely that her experience of entering the world decades ago was discovered by Lex Luthor. Ganata, "Sister Diana, is that you?" Diana Prince, "Yes, it's me. I think Luthor should have noticed my true identity." Diana did not hide too much from everyone. They all knew that Diana had an extraordinary life experience and that she had entered the world once as early as World War I, but later returned to Paradise Island for a long time. If Luthor really took the trouble to check, he should be able to find out some information. After all, LexCorp is a military-industrial enterprise and has close ties with the military. Bruce Wayne tilted his head and watched Luthor go on stage to give a speech, and Diana inadvertently saw Bruce. After their eyes met, everything was normal. Speech is actually nonsense. The drinks are free, that's it. Although Luthor spoke the truth is the last thing needed here. The people in the audience laughed awkwardly. Luthor knew that he could not avoid it, so he could only bite the bullet and start talking nonsense. The word philanthropist originated from Greece, meaning a person of universal love. It should have appeared 2,500 years ago. "I support Luthor's idea," Tony said without hesitation. "In my opinion, this kind of behavior is simply a waste of life. Those guys would rather use their precious time to listen to a lot of meaningless nonsense than to do something more meaningful. I haven't given a public speech for a long time. Do you know? They are committing a crime. They are wasting the time of a genius. A genius can promote the development of the entire human race, so they are strangling the future of mankind." While Luthor was speaking, Bruce Wayne shuttled through the crowd and asked into the headset, "Where should I go?" "Alfred, go straight past the elevator and turn left. You must be right. You have to take the stairs in the operating corridor in the basement." Alfred directed Bruce's actions, and Clark, who was attending the party, heard the conversation between the two with his extraordinary hearing. Although the headphones were of good quality, Clark's hearing was higher than the quality of the headphones. "Gods and mortals, Prometheus chose us. He destroyed Zeus's plan to destroy mankind, and for this he was struck by lightning. This seems very unfair." When Luthor said this, Diana below was speechless, and the expression on her face seemed to ask, "Do you think you are very humorous?" Diana was much more familiar with this than Luthor. Although her father was not a good thing, he was also a god king, and the most important thing was that he was her father. And Diana also heard what Bruce said in the headphones. "No kidding, the Metropolitan Library, but my father couldn't buy them at that time. My father couldn't afford the library at all. He could only dig out some outdated newspapers from the garbage dump." Luthor's female assistant discovered that Bruce Wayne suddenly left here halfway. "When you see the kitchen on the right, turn right and you will see where you are going." Bruce Wayne followed the butler's instructions and arrived at the destination. After installing the device, Luthor's assistant suddenly pushed the door open. "How can I help you, Mr. Wayne?" The assistant pushed open the door and asked Bruce Wayne politely, I thought the bathroom was here. It must be that martini was too strong." Bruce smiled and made up an excuse to get away with it. Faced with such a distinguished guest, the assistant could only accept it. "The men's bathroom is upstairs." "Great, it's okay now. The shoes are beautiful." After the assistant turned and left, his face changed, and he said to the headset, "I can't stay here, Alfred. Go upstairs to socialize and find a young lady from the metropolis to marry." Alpha in the command room drank a sip of water and then complained, "Don't dream, Alfred." Alfred gave Bruce advice, worrying about his marriage like an old father. This is indeed a trap, but what does Luthor intend to do? If he just wants to take this opportunity to kill Clark, he didn't even bother to involve Bruce? Is it a business conflict? Planning to kill Clark and Bruce, and then throw the pot on Clark? Books are knowledge, and knowledge is power. And me? No. What's wrong with me? What am I talking about? No. The reason why people have mixed feelings is that they have knowledge but no rights. Because the two are contradictory. Thank you for coming, and drink as much as you can. Luthor's crazy and illogical speech finally ended, and Bruce Wayne also came up to socialize, and the three parties are about to meet. Mr. Wayne, Clark Kent of the Daily Planet. After seeing Bruce, Clark took the initiative to step forward and wanted to get to know him. "My foundation has explained the support for book collection. Sir, she's a pretty girl, but she has a bad character. Can you please not write this sentence? What do you think of the Gotham Bat vigilante?" After perfunctorily answering his question, Bruce was about to leave when he heard Clark actually ask him what he thought of Batman. Bruce Wayne was very surprised. "Wait a minute, is the Daily Planet owned by me or someone else? Civil liberties are being trampled on in your city, and good people are living in fear," Clark said sincerely. "Don't believe rumors, young man." Looking at the honest and kind young man in front of him, Bruce advised him not to believe rumors. "I saw it with my own eyes, Mr. Wayne. He treats the law like air." Clark's sincerity left Bruce speechless, because he did exactly that. The Daily Planet actually criticizes someone who thinks he is above the law. Don't you think it's a bit hypocritical? Even your so-called heroes, even if they save a cat from a tree, will be hyped up by you as an alien who can destroy the entire earth if he wants, and we can't stop him at all. Bruce always has the idea that powerful people can destroy mankind at any time, especially the so-called Superman as an alien. Most people will not agree with you, Mr. Wayne. Maybe it's because I'm a Gotham native. We just have an unpleasant past with freaks dressed like clowns. Clark's expression was relatively calm. What kind of unpleasant words had he not heard over the years? A mere adjective like a freak dressed like a clown. If no one fanned the flames, this would just be an unpleasant conversation between a small reporter and a billionaire. The premise is that no one fanned the flames. Watching the wonderful sniping between the two people on the screen, Loki was the first to understand Lex Luthor's intention. Loki Odinson, maybe Diana was an accident, but Clark and Bruce, the two of them were definitely called here by Luthor on purpose. What Luthor wanted was to make the two of them fight. Peter Parker, fight? Why? Loki Odinson, don't try to understand the thinking of madmen with the thinking logic of normal people. Some things that seem incomprehensible to you may seem normal to a madman. Just when the two were about to part unhappily, the person who fanned the flames came. Guys, Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent have met. Great, I just like to bring people together. Luthor walked up to the two men and shook hands with them. Achievement, 3 people can't make a pair of parents. Accomplished. After shaking Clark's hand, Luthor deliberately said to Bruce, this man's hands are really strong. Don't fight with this man. I finally invited you to Metropolis after all these years. I just want to drink up your wine. That's great, you're welcome. But you really should come to the harbor more often. I want to show you my lab. Maybe we can jointly develop some projects. My R&D department is full of ideas. In the basement, the equipment installed by Bruce before is now effective. I wanted to ask for leave, but I still bit the bullet and wrote a chapter. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 668. At that moment, I thought I saw God. The transmission has been completed. Alfred passed the information to Bruce through the headset, and Clark easily heard what was in Bruce's headset. For Clark, the conversation between the two through the headset was no different from broadcasting to the world with a loudspeaker for him who had super hearing. Luthor, someone is here. It's the governor. Luthor said goodbye to the two and went to accompany the governor. Bruce left here to take the device away. Clark thought about it and decided to follow him. Bruce noticed Clark, who was following him, and looked back at him. Clark, who was discovered, pretended to be visiting, and then Clark was attracted by the news on TV. A fatal factory fire broke the tranquility of the Day of the Dead into a res. When Bruce rushed to the place where he had placed the device before, he found that the thing was gone. When he turned around, he found Diana standing at the door. This mysterious and charming woman attracted his attention. Bruce Wayne suspected that she might be the one who took his things. After seeing him, Diana turned and left. Bruce Wayne quickly chased after her, but unfortunately there were too many people, and he lost her in a short while. I can't believe that they would let that girl die. Inside the TV, a girl was trapped in a burning building and stood in front of the window in despair. The rescuers were helpless in this situation. Superman, who represented justice, certainly could not watch this happen, so he chose to go to the rescue and gave up tracking Bruce. After chasing to the outside of the building, Bruce could only look at Diana with a provocative look. The other party had already got in the car and left here. This operation completely failed. Superman's speed was too fast. He was at the party before and had already rushed to the fire scene. The blazing building gradually collapsed. Superman slowly descended from the sky holding the little girl, and the cape behind him moved with the wind. When Superman came to the ground, people had gathered around. People took off their hats to show respect and consciously dispersed to make way for Clark. In the worship and faith of the people, Clark came to the girl's mother. Half kneeling on the ground, he handed the girl in his hand to her mother. People rushed up and stretched out their right hands to the world in front of them. Countless hands touched his body as if they could feel his glory. At this moment, the crowd around Clark is like his people, mortals who admire God. In a talk show, a documentary director is talking about the issue of Superman, the god of the world. As one of the races on this planet, we have been looking for a savior. 90% of people believe in life. No matter which religion, they all respect the image of a savior. When this savior appears on the earth, should we ask them to abide by our rules? We must understand that this is a shift in thinking mode. We must think about something deeper than politics. Are there any moral constraints on this person? We have international laws. Any behavior on the earth is a political behavior. And Superman is dragging the sunken ship away from here in the ice and snow with a ship-sized chain. As Superman's number of actions gradually increases, the discussion about him is getting louder and louder. It's not strange that the most powerful person in the world is a controversial person. Let someone interfere in international affairs based on his own likes and dislikes. This is worth our consideration. Humanity is gradually going far in the history of blindly worshipping hegemony. If it persists, it will inevitably lead to greater atrocities. The space rocket exploded, and Superman emerged from the flames of the explosion and rescued the astronauts inside. We have always created idols according to our own will. What we do is impose our subjective feelings and desires on him. The fact is that he may be neither a demon nor a god. Maybe he is just a person who wants to make the right choice. The person we are discussing now challenges people's understanding of priority in this universe because of his existence. You can ask Copernicus. He put the sun at the center of the known universe instead of the earth. Then you go and check Darwin's experience, and you will find that humans are just one of the many life forms on earth. Now we realize that we are not even special in the universe because there is Superman. He is there, one of us, aliens, and we are not the only ones. The people whose homes were submerged in the flood also received his help. They painted the logo of Superman's chest on the roof. For people, this logo gradually acquired the same meaning as the Owl family on Krypton, hope. People were submerged by the flood, and they chose to paint the logo of Superman because they believed in Superman and believed that he could save them. They believed that Superman was a god, a benevolent god who would save mankind from pain and disaster. The woman who was forced onto the roof by the flood was wearing a blanket. She shivered in the cold wind, but she stood up at this moment and slowly stretched one hand towards the sky. There, a figure fell from the sky with his back against the sunlight. At this moment, she thought she saw God. As a senator, you can really easily tell parents who are grieving because of the loss of their children. Superman could have saved your child, but in principle we don't want him to carry out the rescue operation. It's not that he shouldn't act, but that he shouldn't act unilaterally. Clark, sitting on the sofa, watched these programs with a bad expression on his face. From the beginning to the end, he has been using his power to help people. As for titles like the God of the World, it is not important to Clark. He has always regarded himself as a small town boy, nothing more. Loki Odinson, they want to drive the fire dragon, but they are afraid of the fangs and flames of the fire dragon. Clark, I have never thought so much from the beginning to the end. I have always regarded myself as an ordinary person with great power, who wants to use my power to do something for the earth. Just like what the screening room said, the gods were created by humans. Those words made me feel uncomfortable. Thanos, the Asajj people are right. They just want to control you and make you their power while fearing that you will backfire. For humans, you are too strong, incredibly strong, and they are worried that they can't control you. Holy Lord, humans are always like this, greedy, ignorant, and stupid. Wonder, but Mr. Clark's previous actions really looked like a real god. It was a scene in the flood. To quote Captain Iruma, at that moment, for the woman trapped by the flood, she really thought she had seen God. Peter Parker, I have some feelings too. In my world, people have already discussed Ultraman next. Some call it an ancient titan, some say it is an alien creature, and some say it is a messenger of God. Peter Parker, in fact, Ultraman Nexus is just an ordinary high school student who often fails in sports. Chapter 669, Bad Brand, Death Brand. Janitor, isn't it a good thing to be happy and thankful to have a strong person who is willing to protect you? I have traveled in the universe for a long time. Many planets have a miserable life after losing the gods who protect them, or without the protection of gods. Janitor, I went to the Earth for a field investigation. The environment of the Earth is simply incredible. The atmosphere is perfect, the stars are in their prime, and the distance from the stars is just right. Janitor, only in this environment can the weak life on Earth successfully reproduce the Earth-like civilization. Janitor, other cosmic civilizations either have the protection of gods or are strong enough Otherwise, they cannot survive in the harsh environment of the universe, let alone develop civilization. Even so, the development of civilization still has to face various dangers. It is basic to encounter hundreds of meteorites of different sizes every year, and the surface temperature of the planet jumps back and forth between +500 and -100 in a day. If you are unlucky and encounter a large-scale natural disaster like an instantaneous black hole, there are not a few cases where the entire civilization dies on the spot. Janitor, even if there is a god's protection, the god is not easy to serve. I have seen with my own eyes that the life on a planet wanted their god to reign. This developed technological civilization can do it easily, but the god of that planet actually had to conduct a blood sacrifice of 10,000 people. Janitor, I was very angry at the time, and I still feel the same when I think about it now, so I attacked their palace, pulled them off the throne, pressed them to the ground, and asked why they did it. The blood sacrifice has no meaning to them. Janitor, they said that for dignity and for faith, and one even said that it didn't think it was useful. It just thought it was fun, and asked the underground life to do it. Janitor, in this environment, the environment of the earth is simply unique, and there is a kind and strong man named Clark who is willing to save people, and does not want any report. They should be happy. Loki Odinson, it is because of Clark's kindness. You see, why do they want to judge Clark? Because Clark has the ability to destroy the earth. But why no one judges Thanos? Because Thanos will really destroy the earth. Bruce Wayne, there is another reason. Clark is too strong. We cannot guarantee that Clark will not change his temperament in the future, which is commonly known as blackening. Holy Lord, blackening, aren't you forcing him to do this? Exclamation mark. He used the remains of his people as money in exchange, disrespected the remains, used Zod's remains for experiments, and tried to find his family, to hold him hostage with his family as a condition. Holy Lord, Clark, you should kill people to establish your authority. If you kill one person, they will be angry. If you kill 10, they will question, and try to judge you. If you kill 100, they will declare war on you. If you kill 1,000, they will calm down a little. If you kill 10,000, they will be silent. If you kill 100,000, they will pay you high respect. If you kill 1,000,000, they will crawl at your feet. Holy Lord, when you kill 100 million, you will be the supreme god of the earth. Clark, I will not kill anyone. I'm willing to accept the trial. The live broadcast room fell into a brief silence, with only Loki's barrage slowly passing by. Fool. The video continues. The kind-hearted Superman did his best to help people get rid of suffering, but even so, the world is still full of criticism against him. Everyone knows that he is a kind person, but he has great power, and people have always been wary, criticized, and quarreled with him. All this is just because his power is too strong. No one and nothing can hurt him. Just like God, people doubt whether he will bleed. Superman sat on the sofa and watched the debate on TV. His heart was full of waves. He fell into confusion. After a long time, he picked up the phone and called a familiar number. Hello, Clark. Hi, Mom. Martha was ready to go to bed, but received a call from her son. There is no God or savior here, only a big boy who wants to find his mother, to confide his inner confusion. Be thankful. Strange patted Bruce's shoulder and said, thanks to Clark's adoptive parents who are kind people, otherwise, the existence of your Earth is a matter of probability. Now Clark is just like him on the screen, just a child who needs his mother's guidance when he is confused. I think, maybe you can also help him. The age difference between you two is quite big, isn't it? Jonathan Osterman, Drive Manhattan, you and I are similar, but different. Clark. Jonathan Osterman, Drive Manhattan, you and I both have the power to subvert the world, but one of us is a god and the other is still a human. Your behavior shows divinity, but I see more of the human side in you, which is a good thing and a bad thing. Clark looked at himself on the screen, who was calling his mother but didn't speak, and remained silent. His heart was far more confused than Clark on the screen, and Clark on the screen had experienced far more complicated experiences than him. The video continues. Louis found Barbara and asked her to help analyze the bullet. After Barbara's analysis, this thing may come from a black box or even alien technology. At the Daily Planet, Clark, who was slacking off at work, and reading the news, saw more and more reports about Batman. Clark frowned. He didn't know what was going on today. All he saw were news about Batman's violent law enforcement. Clark disagreed with this. Big data is a good thing. Yes, especially big data under human manipulation. A criminal was transferred to the Metropolitan Prison. He looked very scared because he was branded with the bat mark. Generally speaking, the prisoners in the prison know what this means, and they will take extra care of those with the bat mark. At least, your approach is effective. You have successfully made a criminal feel fear. Kif, you are on bail. Open door number 2. The prison guard brought Wallace good news. Who paid? Luthor's assistant took Wallace, who was imprisoned in the prison, and took him to a place. Who are you? Wallace came into the room and saw the back of a person sitting in a wheelchair. Luthor turned around slowly in his smart wheelchair and said calmly, "Ordinary people." "Really? Then what do you want to do?" Wallace asked angrily. "Help you stand firm." Luthor stood up and said a little crazy. On the other side, the blonde congresswoman came to the office. The secretary reminded him of his schedule at 3 o'clock. After taking the information from the secretary, he came to the office and saw Wallace in a suit. Wallace sat in the smart wheelchair that Luthor had used before. After hearing the sound of the blonde congressman coming, he imitated Luthor and turned around. Before he turned well, he slightly adjusted and said to the congressman, "He made me lose my legs. My wife abandoned me. I can't even take care of myself. Let me confront him." In the prison, a man found another criminal here. When the two finished visiting, Brother and I returned to the exercise area, and the criminal with the bad mark before also came here. Like I said, God is saving the world, but all the world sees is destruction. Thanos, I don't think you need to bear the psychological burden for those actions. From the macro perspective of the entire Earth, you saved the entire human race on Earth. Chapter 670, Clark, I'm writing it. Thanos, if you hadn't stopped Zod, it wouldn't be just some humans who would have died, but the entire Earth would have been destroyed because of Zod's rage for revenge, and Wallace would have lost not 2 legs, but a life. I think this is a very good deal. Jonathan Osterman, Drive Manhattan, the contribution you've made is greater than the damage you've caused. If you look at the problem from a different perspective, you'll get a different answer. Loki Odinson, even if you don't want to get along with mortals as a god, you should at least learn to look at the problem from a god's perspective. The video continues in prison. The criminal with the bad mark died, stabbed 8 times by another criminal. And this is actually Luthor hiring a killer to kill someone. Luthor has figured out Clark's character. He determined that Clark's kindness would not make him overreact. He determined that with the existence of kryptonite, even if Clark had any overreaction, he could counter it. But he may not know that Clark is now so powerful that he can shatter a star with one punch. No, even if Clark shatters a star with one punch, as long as Clark is not crazy, it is not difficult to set a trap to kill Clark. Bruce said, as long as you give me that substance, I have many opportunities to kill Clark. What are you doing here? This is the men's bathroom. When Minister Swanwick was washing his hands in the bathroom, a woman walked in. Minister Swanwick, you haven't returned my call. Louise, wearing a black leather jacket, came here to block people. Ms. Ryan, if you want to interview, you can see Major Faris when you go out. Do you think I'm a stranger? The difficult Louise still insisted and wanted to interview him. I think you're a reporter. Minister Swanwick responded coldly. Okay, did the United States provide experimental military equipment to the rebels in Africa? Louise asked the question she wanted to ask directly in this bathroom. Swanwick was speechless, not knowing whether to praise Louise's courage and spirit of digging for the truth, or to be speechless about such a question. Why don't you change the place a little bit? Is this the place to ask such a question? Even if he wanted to tell the truth, he couldn't say it in such a public place. You're really courageous. No wonder you dare to come here. Where's your source of information? Tinfoil hat? Tinfoil hat refers to someone with persecution delusion, often used to describe conspiracy theorists. No, it's not tin, but it's also a metal. The bullet found in the Superman incident couldn't be identified by Pentagon experts. Someone is deliberately concealing the truth. The truth is, greedy reporters went to places she shouldn't have gone to in order to make a fortune. Superman rescued her like a bandit robbing a bride. It was very romantic, but the brutal rescue hurt a lot of innocent people. Useless conspiracy theories to restore his saintly halo, or yours. I think they are the ones who are really playing conspiracy theories, and they are smearing Clark. Not necessarily. The military is divided into factions. God knows which factions Wanwick belongs to. At the Daily Planet, Perry approached Clark with an angry face and scolded him. "Where's the report I asked you to write? I mean the one about the football team. I'm writing it." Pointing to a new folder, Perry was so angry that he lost his voice for a moment. After a moment, he tore up the first edition of the newspaper that he had printed out specifically for Clark to see, and said to Clark, "The things I asked you to write about, football, the big library, no, nothing at all, only the damn Gotham Bats crap. I told you no." Clark interrupted Perry directly, and he expressed his position to Perry. "If the police don't help, the media must do the right thing. It's not up to you to choose." When the Daily Planet was founded, it had its own position and attitude. Perry, you could have had a position in 1938, but this is not 1938. The Works Progress Administration is no longer hiring. A bunch of apples are not worth much. The Cold War is over. The giant red bear has been dead for many years. And most importantly, Gotham City's bats have been flying for many years. That madman in the circus caused enough trouble on the river, but so what? Whether you are here or outside, don't have anything to do with this matter anymore. No one cares about Clark Kent challenging Batman. The madman flying over Gotham in the dark never cares about other people's opinions. You are not Superman. If Superman challenges Batman, maybe some people will take a look. Do you understand? You don't have that power. Don't get involved. That madman in the circus? A mental patient I once encountered. There are many people like him in Arkham. He doesn't have any superpowers and is easier to deal with than any villain. Even though Bruce Wayne doesn't believe in God, he feels that what he said is enough to send him to hell 100 times. If the monsters and ghosts in Gotham are really like the Joker, Bruce feels that he will be hospitalized soon. At the banquet, the curator took Diana to visit an exhibit. The Sword of Alexander, the sword that cut the Gordian knot. This is a victory. Yes. Just as Diana was visiting with peace of mind, Bruce slowly leaned over from behind and said, "This is a fake. The real one was sold on the black market in 1998. It is now hanging on." Before Bruce finished speaking, Diana took over, hanging on the head of King Hadja's bed. "Excuse me." Diana apologized and wanted to leave, but Bruce stepped forward and grabbed her arm. "I'm sorry, miss. One night you took something that didn't belong to you. Stealing is rude." Bruce pretended to hold her hand and whispered what Diana did that day. "If you steal the thief's things, is it considered stealing?" Diana counterattacked Bruce and said that she was the thief. "Who are you?" Bruce was curious about who this mysterious and beautiful woman in front of him was. "We are currently focusing on the same target." "Really? I believe Mr. Luthor. There is a photo that should belong to me." Diana said this with a hint of dissatisfaction in her tone. The photo is still very memorable to her. "Did you get it?" "Unfortunately, I didn't get it. The data you copied is protected by a military level password. You know, with your clothes. I bet 9 out of 10 men will be fascinated." Bruce said behind Diana, "Are you the 10th one? I think I'm the first one to see through your true face. You don't know me, but I know a few women like you. I don't think you know me very well. In fact, what they say about little boys is true. You are born without the understanding of what sharing is. I didn't steal your drive, I just borrowed it." In the eyes of Diana, a demigod, Bruce is still just a little boy. "You'll find it in the storage box of your car. Goodbye, Mr. Wayne." Diana whispered in Bruce's ear, then walked away gracefully and blended into the crowd. Bruce looked at Diana's leaving figure with a dazed look in his eyes, but he quickly returned to the car, found the things, and immediately returned to the Batcave. Uploading, decoding. Bruce is not Diana. He has enough ability to crack the military code. "Actually, in my world, I bought the sword," Bruce said. Chapter 671, Omega Mark, Superman, and Batman. A heartfelt chat. The world is full of yellow sand and ruins are everywhere. There is a raging fire in the ruins of a city not far away. A man in a cloak walked out of the underground secret passage. He used the telescope in his hand to observe the surrounding environment. There was a huge mark on the barren land in front of him. The man drove a truck with a group of men to a military base or a doomsday survival base. Did you get it? The stone. The man took off his windproof glasses. Although he was wearing a mask, the man's face shape could still be seen. It was Bruce. Bruce looked at the mercenary leader in front of him and asked, "Did you get it?" The stone. "I got it." "What's going on?" Everyone was a little confused about this sudden transition. Bruce was looking up information in the Batcave just now. How did he suddenly jump to the set of Mad Maximum? Dream? Or a parallel world? And the previous sign, that's the Greek letter. Why would there be such a big pattern in the wasteland? Maybe it's a cult in the apocalypse? Bruce walked deeper into the carriage and Batman followed him in. The man opened the box, which was emitting a green light. When Bruce leaned in, he saw that it was not kryptonite. The man in front of him loaded his weapon and pointed it at Batman. Sorry. There was also turmoil outside. Teams of fully armed soldiers with S's painted on their shoulders surrounded the place. Facing the long guns behind him, Bruce chose to pretend to surrender, but the other side did not follow the ethics of martial arts. The soldiers outside asked Bruce's men to lay down their weapons and then ruthlessly harvested them with the rifles in their hands. No. Watching his men die tragically, Bruce attacked instantly. Although the other party had a gun in his hand, it was obvious that he did not want to kill him. A group of people wanted to subdue him in close combat by relying on their numbers, but they were facing Bruce Wayne, the strongest human being. Throwing away the gun was completely unnecessary. This was the man that Omega Rays would turn away from. One side did not dare to kill, and the other side was still the strongest human on Earth. Who could beat them in a one-on-one fight? But soon, Batman was not facing humans, but monsters with wings flying in the sky. Darkseid. At this moment, Diana finally knew what the Earth had experienced. Diana Prince, those are Darkseid's men. Bruce Wayne, Darkseid? Diana Prince, that's right, Darkseid, a powerful existence that once invaded the Earth. That is a name that is cursed and feared in every universe. The symbol before should be Darkseid's Omega symbol. Diana Prince, that universe should have been invaded by Darkseid. Those flying in the sky should be demons, a kind of transformed life. Perhaps, those demons are transformed Earth soldiers. Diana Prince, Darkseid once invaded the Earth and was defeated by the old gods, the Amazons, humans, and the Green Star from the stars. Could it be that in that parallel universe, Darkseid once again came to the Earth and succeeded? Bruce Wayne, Diana, where did you get this information from? Diana Prince, a large part of it comes from my mother, the Queen of the Amazons of Paradise Island. She was a personal participant in that war. Not long after that war, Atlantis entered the ocean. Diana Prince, I'm sure that the other party came for the mother box, which is a weapon with the power to change and destroy a planet. There are 3 mother boxes, guarded by the leaders of humans, Amazons, and Atlantis respectively. We put the mother boxes in the tower, and have the most elite Amazon warriors guarding them day and night. When the 3 mother boxes are combined, Darkseid will attack Diana Prince. I'm afraid that I have died in the battle on that Earth. The shock brought by this big news made everyone once again experience the feeling when they learned about Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet. The video continues when the soldiers were replaced by the flying demons in the sky and the enhanced demons on the ground with tons of power. Bruce, who was outnumbered and poorly equipped, was finally defeated. With one stick, Bruce fell unconscious on the spot. When he woke up, his hands were tied and hung in the air. He was in a dungeon with fully armed soldiers and demons around him, and a figure fell from the sky and came to him. Blue battlesuit, S logo, red cape. Superman Clark Kent. That's me. Clark looked at himself on the screen in disbelief. Whether it was his appearance or his shape, it showed that it was him. But how could he become the leader of that group of monsters? Or, why would he join a villain who wanted to invade the Earth? At this time, Clark's face no longer had the shyness of that country boy, nor did he have the compassion of saving all living beings. He was a little fierce in the shadow. It was a kind of oppression from the top of the food chain. Bruce was not the only rebel captured, but now there was only Bruce. Because everyone else was executed by Clark. The red hotline cut the rebels' bodies like butter. Those who were lucky screamed and died on the spot, while those who were unlucky were cut in half. They would not die directly after being cut in half. Because the wounds on their bodies were instantly scorched by the heat rays, they would scream continuously and finally die in pain. How could this be me? Not only Clark didn't believe it, most people in the theater didn't believe it could be Clark. They had contact with Clark, although the time was short, but they could all feel the simplicity and kindness in Clark. He always gave people a feeling of facing the sun, not hot, but warm. This big boy can always shine the sunshine in his heart into the hearts of others. But why did Clark in that parallel world or future time and space become like that? Exclamation mark. Superman took off Batman's hood, revealing Bruce's old face. At this moment, Bruce only gave people a feeling of being a hero in his twilight years and his sun was setting. She is everything to me, and you took her away. Superman said this with great hatred, and then put his hand on Bruce Wayne's chest, and then exerted force under Superman's power. Bruce groaned in pain. The next second, more intense pain came. Superman's palm pierced Bruce's chest, and took his heart out alive. Chapter 672, The Flash's Warning. The intense pain woke Bruce up instantly, and then a more terrifying scene appeared. A huge ball of lightning appeared in front of Bruce. A man in a red uniform squeezed out of it, as if he was desperate, and said to Bruce, who was confused, "Bruce, listen to me carefully, it's Lois. It's Lois Lane. She, the key. Am I too early? I'm too early, and your opinion of him has always been right. Fear. He. Find us. Bruce. You must find us." Bruce woke up again. He thought it was a dream, but the flying papers in the air seemed to confirm that all this was not a dream. Bruce thought about the meaning of the words of the new Riddler in his previous dream, but at this time, the decryption work was completed. The confusion on Bruce's face has not diminished since the beginning, and he is still immersed in the picture of Clark piercing his chest with a palm. It was obviously not a dream, because the flying papers brought by the lightning also appeared in the real world. He didn't know what the lightning man was like, but the other party was definitely real, and not a dream. Clark has changed? No, the key is that the one Clark said he took away. Lois Lane? Exclamation mark. Yes, the Flash said Lois Lane is the key, and the Wasteland Superman said he took her away. Took away the person who was everything to Clark. Connecting the past and the future, it is very likely that the self in the Wasteland world killed Lois Lane, and then Superman turned evil. There is a precedent for this, of course not in their world, but in Stranger's Isotope, the evil doctor, the cosmic strongman who destroyed the absolute time point and caused the entire universe to collapse in order to save his lover. Let's sort it out. Obviously, it wasn't a dream, because the appearance of the Flash obviously affected reality. Strange also noticed the impact caused by the appearance of the Flash, and then said, "I think the Flash is likely to come from a parallel universe or the future. I prefer it to be a possibility in the future." And the Flash came back to warn Bruce that Lois is very important. Why did an ordinary woman on Earth become the focus of this return? Because we have seen before that Lois is Clark's lover, at least in that timeline, and the fact that she went crazy because of love has been shown in my counterpart, so the rest is not difficult to guess. Strange didn't say it clearly, but for Bruce, even if he hadn't read the story of the Black Doctor, he knew the general development of the next step. Now there are two pieces of news, one good and one bad. First, Clark in his own world did not get together with Lois. Second, but he still has an adoptive mother. He knows very well that everyone has a bottom line in their hearts, just like the reverse scale of a dragon. Once the bottom line of a person is broken, the other party will become able to do anything. Clark was also thinking. He was unwilling to believe that he would become like that in the future. He made an equivalent comparison. If Martha was killed, he would be furious and crazy. Maybe he would do something irrational in his rage, but he didn't think he would join Darkseid's army to help Darkseid, an invader, suppress the rebels. Something must have happened. Because the impact of Clark's blackening was too great, the entire live broadcast room was boiling. Wanda, I have a feeling. Maybe it's intuition. I think Clark is controlled by someone. Loki Odinson, control? He is so powerful, who can control him? Ganata, that's not necessarily true. The Celestials are the strongest group in the universe, if you don't count my dad in them. But they have almost no resistance to magic, because magic is not something in this era, so the Celestials will be very difficult to face magic. Tony Stark, so can magic restrain the Celestials? Janitor, it can only cause a little bit of hindrance. Generally speaking, if they modify reality, most of the magic will be destroyed along with the magicians who released them. But this is not the point. The point is that, although Brother Clark's body defense is very strong, he will be powerless when facing mental control. Clark, janitor, do you mean that someone used mental control to control me? For example, that Darkseid? Strange, it's not that simple. I think it's something like the Devil's contract. You were obviously sane at the time, and were able to shout out that you took everything from me. It should be that you were too sad after losing Louis. The Darkseid took the opportunity to control you. Diana Prince, I will return to Paradise Island now. The video continues. Bruce Wayne, who has recovered, searches for the white Portuguese in Luthor's database. On the other side, Clark, who was working overtime at the Daily Planet, received a letter. It contained a newspaper about Batman, and there were a bunch of photos in it, with prisoners interrogated by Batman. The more he looked, the tighter Clark's brows frowned. Clark, who was already dissatisfied with Batman's way of dealing with criminals, became even more dissatisfied. Batman found clues about the white Portuguese in the database of the Luthor group. It turned out that this was the name of a ship. The white Portuguese is not a person's name, but a ship. Bruce found Alfred, and shared the information he found with him. Master Wayne, you have been a master of deception since you were 7 years old. Just like Mozart is proficient in all kinds of harpsichords, but you have never been good at lying to me. The white Portuguese is not loaded with dirty bombs, so what is he loaded with? Alfred easily saw through Bruce's lies. Master Wayne was still too naive in front of him. A weapon, a stone, a mineral with the energy to weaken Kryptonian cells. 3 months ago, a large enough mineral was found at the bottom of the Indian Ocean. Now it is being sent to Lex Luthor on a ship codenamed the White Portuguese. I want to steal it. Faced with the butler's questioning, Bruce Wayne said that his real purpose was for the weapon that could target Superman. Luthor must not be allowed to succeed. He must be destroyed. Alfred felt that this kind of stone could not remain in Luthor's hands and must be destroyed. No. Bruce Wayne denied the butler's statement. Do you want to start a war? Alfred understood the young master's thoughts and was a little unbelievable. That bastard declared war on us 2 years ago. Count the bodies. Thousands have died. Will he send millions more to die next? He has the ability to destroy the entire human race. As long as we have 1% reason to believe that he might be our enemy, we must be 100% prepared for war and must eliminate him. But he is not our enemy. Not today. Bruce looked at Alfred and said slowly, Alfred, we have seen the value of commitment in Gotham for 20 years. How many good people are left? How many people have been like this all the time? Chapter 673, Luthor, Man proposes, God disposes. When Bruce heard himself on the screen say that, he knew what the other party meant. Yeah, Harvey. He was extremely suspicious, and after being crippled by the madman in the circus and Two-Face, he was going to go to war with Superman, and going to war, this might be the outcome that led to Lois's death. Clark, don't worry Bruce, I don't even know Lois yet. Looking at Clark's comfort, Bruce did not let go of his worries. This world is so fragile. The image continues. Clark went out on a field trip, trying to find the previous prisoner Santos, but when he arrived, he only saw Santos' widow, a young woman and her child, who came to collect Santos' relics. Clark wanted to ask something, but the woman said to him viciously, he is not my husband, but he is a father. I know what he did. They transferred him from Gotham to Metropolis. Everyone knows the mark on his body, and the prison guards don't care about it. The Bat is the judge. One person can decide who can survive. What kind of justice is this? Talk to me. Help me change it. With what? Your pen? Words can't stop people like him. Do you know what can stop him? Fists. Bruce finally spoke after a long silence. It was not known whether he was defending or stating. He said, I never kill people. I just throw them into the cell. If I don't care, more people will get hurt. Wanda, Bruce, don't be too excited. This is all a conspiracy of that curly-haired man. Bruce Wayne, maybe it's an open conspiracy. He has been intensifying the conflict and making us stand on opposite sides. He has succeeded. Even if there is no Luthor, Clark will take action because of my actions. It's a matter of time, and I will definitely find a way to target Clark. Clark, I actually think your methods are a bit excessive, Bruce. Bruce Wayne, maybe you may have some misunderstandings about my actions. What do you think I did it for? Loki Odinson, justice? Fame? Or your ridiculous kindness? Bruce Wayne, I never represent justice. What I need to do is to scare those evil people and make them dare not continue to do evil. That's all. Image continues. Daily Planet. Perry came to find Clark and found that he skipped work. Jenny, where's Clark Kent? I don't know. Perry said with a face full of MMP. I guess he just knocked his heels together 3 times and then went back to Kansas. The white Portuguese was moving the items on the dock and a dark shadow came here early and waited. Batman stood at the top of the crane tower and observed everything that happened here. In the darkness, countless busy workers were transporting goods like ants, unaware that a bat had taken advantage of the moonlight to fly into the night sky, quietly watching them, and might swoop down to find food at any time. The goods were transported to the truck. At the moment when the door was closed and the engine was ignited, a bat tracker was nailed to the door. Batman fired a shot at the door with a sniper rifle. When the truck drove to an intersection, the dazzling lights turned on and a dark tank started a deafening roar. The armed transport personnel took out their guns and shot at the Batmobile, but it was useless and was directly knocked away by the Batmobile. Obstacles are useless to the Batmobile. A hook came forward and flipped a car off. The people protecting the cargo used all the offensive means they could use, such as rifles, Gatling guns, and even RPGs, but these were just BB bullets for the Batmobile. BB bullets with a relatively fast firing rate, BB bullets with a very fast firing rate, and 1 shot 2 kicks. Because of Robin, Batman at this moment has given up the principle of not killing. When he gave up the principle of not killing, an ordinary person's nightmare was born. Facing Gatling guns, the Batmobile directly used a machine gun to sweep, and facing RPGs, macro missiles fired back, just when he was about to succeed. At a corner, Superman appeared. Looking at the chase on the road and Bruce, who was reckless, everyone's eyes gradually changed. It is better to stick to the principle of not killing this person. If he goes crazy, the damage he causes may not be less than Clark. Image continues looking at the Superman who appeared in front of him. Bruce was a little surprised. Then he stepped on the accelerator to the bottom and crashed into him without any hesitation. But Superman's steel body was not the broken copper and iron just now. The chariot crashed into Superman and Superman was unharmed, but the Batmobile ended up being scrapped on the spot. Superman walked to the stopped Batmobile domineeringly, and with a slight force, the body of the Batmobile was dismantled by him barehanded. Facing Superman, Batman stood up from the car fearlessly and faced him directly. Next time your logo appears in the air, don't respond. The bat is dead. Bury it. Just think of it as my mercy. Tell me, will you bleed? Faced with the warning of this god on earth, Bruce asked such a question. Will you bleed? Predator, if it bleeds, you mean it can be killed? You will. Superman did not answer. Batman turned around and flew into the sky and left here. Batman looked at Superman's receding back and gave the answer in a hoarse voice. Does this mean that you have declared war on him? Yes, janitor. Bruce said, if he can bleed, then he will kill. But even Zod didn't do that. No, janitor. Bruce looked at janitor and said, humans are very brave. Batman came to the computer as soon as he returned to the base, looking for the signal device installed on the car. Fortunately, he had a backup plan for everything he did, as well as a backup plan for the backup plan and a backup plan for the backup plan. Although he was stopped by Superman, he was still able to find the trace of the kryptonite. He found the kryptonite very quickly, and it was transported to the Luthor Group research base. The box was transported to one of Luthor's bases, which was the territory of the Lex Group. Luthor slowly opened the box and looked at the kryptonite inside. His mentality suddenly exploded. Are my men so awesome? Exclamation mark. Can they deal with that bat? Exclamation mark. At this moment, the young Luthor realized what it meant that man proposes, God disposes. Chapter 674, Luthor's Plan. Young Luthor never expected that his flawless plan would go wrong here. Looking at his men who were about to receive the reward, Luthor could only resist the urge to let them assassinate Superman and give them the reward money. At this moment, it seemed that the green light on Luthor's face was not the radiation of kryptonite, but my damn fund. TNND. It fell again. I will save all my royalties for next month in Jubeo. Luthor is planning to kill someone with a borrowed knife, but why? Why? There are so many reasons. Constantine said, don't mention the damage caused by the two of them fighting in Metropolis before, spying on the power of Kryptonians, their sense of justice bursting, or simply being unhappy with Clark. No matter what the reason is, anyway, they are unhappy. Which of these is not a reason? Yes, there are too many reasons and reasons. Even wanting to kill Clark without any reason can be a reason. Then what reason can't be a reason for Luthor to take action? The image continues. I don't have any halo around me, Mr. Minister. In the heavy rain, Louise once again met General Swanwick, who was promoted to minister. Of course, now he is Minister Swanwick. She said to Swanwick sincerely, I went to the desert and people died there. It made me unable to sleep, and that's understandable. Louise once again handed the bullet wrapped in the file bag to Swanwick and said, if you think Superman is a murderer, throw it away, but I believe you don't think so. Louise, her bravery deserves recognition and praise, but blind bravery will not accomplish anything. Maybe she can, because she has the power of the military and an invincible man behind her. How do we define good and bad? In a democratic world, goodness is communication and exchange, not unilateral decision. At the press conference, the blonde female congressman spoke like a fart. If exchange and communication can work, then why do we need to do laundry? But she still said, so I urge Superman to come to the Capitol tomorrow and see these suffering people. The public needs to know what happened in the desert and needs to know his position. How does he want to use his superpowers? Is his behavior due to our will or his own? She hopes to use public pressure to force him to come. Lois heard the news while sitting in the car, and the Daily Planet was also watching the live broadcast. Clark certainly knew about this matter. Don't know whether to live or die. This is the evaluation given by the Holy Lord to humans. In the eyes of the Holy Lord, the reason why Clark did not rule the earth was all because of his cowardly character. In the screening room, Peter looked at Clark, who was being pressed step by step, and couldn't help thinking about what he should do if he encountered such a situation. The Ultra Warriors of the Kingdom of Light have never encountered such a situation on Earth. In addition to the difference between the two Earths, there should be identity issues. Yes, Ultraman is an alien. The reason why humans dare to judge Clark is that he is close to humans, and Nexter is too different from humans. If his identity is not exposed, then he doesn't have to worry about encountering the above situation. In other words, what does your trial of Nexter Ultraman have to do with him, Peter Parker? Exclamation mark. People hate what they don't know, but they will understand you when they see what you do. You are not a killer, nor a threat. At the Kent farm, Martha comforted Clark. She said, I never wanted the world to have you. Be the hero, Clark. Be their role model. Be their guardian angel. Be the role they want you to be, or do nothing. You don't owe the world anything. Never owed anything. Superman Clark accepted his mother's teachings to him, hoping that he would be true to himself and not be kidnapped by the world, telling Clark that you don't owe the world anything. Clark still looked helpless in the face of his mother's words. Martha's meaning is very clear. Become a god, or choose to be a human. The female witness of the previous desert incident found the blonde congresswoman saying that some things have not been made clear. The police believe that the desert incident was premeditated and someone wants to use it to frame Superman. On the bench by the river, Minister Swanwick wore a hat and communicated with Louise about his discovery. What about the bullet? Louise asked about the origin of the bullet she got. This metal was developed by a private company. What company? LexCorp. Lex Luthor? He has a private armed force in that desert. The minister said that the bullet came from LexCorp, and Lois also remembered the armed forces that massacred ordinary people there at that time. It should be announced. As a reporter, Lois's first thought was to expose this matter. This is impossible. This is confidential information. I don't want to lose my job. The minister would never agree with Lois's idea. Such confidential information cannot be announced. This doesn't make sense. You said that the ambush was to frame Superman. How did they know that he would suddenly appear in? Lois said that she knew the reason why Superman appeared, because her life was threatened. Superman came there to save her. Therefore, Lex Luthor already knew that Superman's true identity was Clark. In that desert. Thank you. After figuring out the key to the matter, Lois thanked him and left in a hurry. At the Capitol, Wallace was being checked by security personnel. The Senate hearing is about to be held, and it will start soon. Of course, the biggest suspense is whether Superman will be present. That is what they are all waiting for. The reporter here was broadcasting live, and when he saw Wallace coming, he quickly stopped him for an interview. Mr. Keefe, I'm O'Brien from the Present Tense program. I have a question for you. What will you say to the senators when you see them? Wallace wanted this effect. He deliberately walked over here just to be interviewed on TV. I'm here to tell them that they should wake up. You must know that this is a fact of flesh and blood. He has brought war in this. This is the true face of war. There is nothing left. Wallace showed his empty lower limbs in front of the camera. This was all caused by Superman. But there are still many people who support him and call him a hero. The reporter at the side said. He is not a hero at all. Hearing the reporter's words, Wallace was very angry. Bruce Wayne was also paying attention to the hearing and saw his former employee who was rescued from the rubble by him. Grace, can Greg come up? Right away. The congresswoman got off the subway. She was talking to Perry. She told Perry that an anonymous informant could confirm everything that happened in the desert. Luthor designed the desert plan, which was a trap for Superman. But Perry didn't intend to believe the other party, because if the information was wrong, Luthor could easily destroy the Planet Day report. The congresswoman looked back subconsciously while walking on the stairs. The woman's sixth sense told her that someone was watching her. She already knew that the so-called victim was talking nonsense before, and her parents were living well at home. Senator. Hello. Don't leave yet, I have something to tell you. Luthor stopped the congresswoman who was about to preside over the hearing and said to his assistant, Mossy, go in first and save a seat for me. What have you been busy with recently? The congresswoman asked, seeing Luthor, who had not been seen for a long time, appear in front of her. Let me tell you my story first. I'm willing to fund the Krypton containment project, but a junior Kentucky senator disagrees. Yes, it is too soft to suppress the head of the Superman committee. While Luthor was talking to the congresswoman, Bruce found his men to ask, Greg, why hasn't he received our checks? Mr. Wayne has received them. He receives subsidies from the foundation every month, and he returns them all. In response to his boss's inquiry, Greg took out the previous transaction records for Bruce to see, but every piece of paper was written with curses on Bruce. Bruce asked angrily, why didn't I see these? Luthor. Bruce looked at the return checks on the screen. Combined with Wallace's previous appearance, how could Bruce not understand that there was a traitor in his family? Before, he had focused all his attention on Clark, but now he could understand it with a little thought. The Wayne Group has a complete set of welfare system for retired employees. Whether it is due to illness or natural retirement at age, there is a subsidy that is enough for them to live a normal life without worries about food and clothing. Retirees have generous pensions, and those who leave due to illness have a complete medical insurance policy. If they resign normally, there is also a subsidy of 12 months' salary. The amount on those checks is $1,756, which is enough for Wallace to live a normal life. In addition, the Wayne Group also has complete medical insurance benefits. Wallace's follow-up treatment can be completed in the hospitals and nursing homes under the Wayne Group. But Wallace said that he had nothing, and his clothes and mental state at the time were also like those of a vagrant. He had previously thought that Wallace was mentally unbalanced because he had lost his legs, but now it seemed that the subsidy given to Wallace by his foundation had not been sent out at all. It had not been sent out, nor had it been embezzled, but had been sent back with curses written on it, and he had not even been told. This was a setup. He had been tricked by Luthor from the very beginning. Chapter 675. Luthor, so happy, so happy. He's coming. Superman is coming. He's really coming to the East Coast, the US capital. This is really a historic moment. We expect Superman to give some kind of statement to the senators, to the American people, and of course, to the whole world. The live broadcast reporter discovered Superman coming from the sky. The people on the scene cheered when they saw Superman coming. Bruce, Martha, who looked distressed, and many more people were paying attention to this meeting. Look. He's coming. He's above Congress. The person next to the congresswoman interrupted Luthor's conversation with her. When she heard Superman's arrival, the congresswoman couldn't continue the conversation. This potato is hot. June. I grew up on a farm. I'm not afraid of wrestling with pigs, so why am I afraid of potatoes? The congresswoman put on her clothes and pretended to be fearless. Do you know the oldest lie in American history? That is that power is innocent. Good luck. Facing the departure of the congresswoman, Luthor's eyes were full of deep meaning. Beside the subway line, a man quietly approached the female witness. He didn't want to flirt or molest her, but a piercing scream sounded in the subway station. This story tells us that we should remember to install subway partitions. They are going to kill people. Louise used her press pass to pass the police blockade. Superman came to the square outside the Capitol. The crowd gathered here held signs such as Superman is equal to illegal aliens and shouted wildly, "Get out! Get out!" Listening to the abuse of the people around him, Superman sighed. His face was very ugly, and he adjusted his mentality and walked inside. Everyone who passed by in the Capitol looked at him in surprise. Loki Odinson. People fear and hate God, but pray to him in times of crisis. It's ridiculous. Thanos. I don't understand where their courage comes from. Clark only needs one heat ray to turn them into a pile of broken corpses in the next second. Just one heat ray, and a twist of the neck will kill at least thousands of people here. The courage of you Earthlings always shocks me. Thanos hasn't made similar remarks for a long time. As a group of Earthlings, they are speechless about this group of Earthlings who can even be said to have come to join in the fun. The screening room gave them a close-up. They saw countless people holding signs, shouting and cursing Superman with wild laughter on their faces. Excluding them from the atmosphere group hired by Luthor, there is only one possibility. They are just here to join in the fun. Yes, the kind who don't even want to die for the fun. Holy Lord, let's imagine what this place will look like if Clark suddenly goes crazy. What will it look like? At the very least, it's also a slaughterhouse. In front of Superman, humans are not as good as pigs. Pigs need several people to catch them, but humans in front of Superman can be dealt with just a glance. This is what I just received. Bruce Wayne looked at these letters, all of which were return checks from the Foundation. When Superman came to the hearing hall, everyone present fell silent, and everyone's eyes were focused on the God on Earth. As long as Superman wanted, this place could instantly become a slaughterhouse. Fortunately, Superman didn't want this to happen. He just came to his seat when everyone's eyes were focused, gently pushed open the door and walked in, standing and looking at the group of congressmen. First of all, let me thank our witness for coming to us specially. Thank you for his presence. The democratic system is that we can talk to each other, and our behavior is voluntary under the constraints of everyone's recognition. Superman glanced at the three men sitting next to him, and the other party's hair stood up instantly, even if they were just looked at by Superman. Across the iron railings, people would sneer at the beast and say that a sliding tackle can kill the tiger, but when facing the beast head on, they can be considered a great success if they can stand firm. I've sat here before. The committee will never tolerate behind the scenes manipulation, and lies are no exception, because today is the day of the truth. Only by speaking out As the Congresswoman spoke, she looked at the cup on the table and suddenly fell silent, which made the others in the audience feel strange. Only by working together can we create a free Anne. The Congresswoman suddenly stuttered when she spoke and turned the cup on the table with the words Grandma's peach tea on it, which made her fall into horror. Looking down at the audience, Luther was not sitting in his seat, and the others in the audience also found something unusual. Superman found that something was wrong with the Congresswoman. When he looked over in the direction of the Congresswoman's gaze, that position was Wallace. Boom. A violent explosion burst out from Wallace's position to the surroundings, and the flames engulfed everything. The hearing ended just as it began. The explosion destroyed the Capitol, and the crowd around was also in chaos. Bruce was angry. This had exceeded his bottom line. Clark Kent, it's lead. The only thing my perspective cannot see through is objects made of lead. There is a bomb in that wheelchair, and the wheelchair is made of lead. Bruce Wayne, you can't see through objects made of lead? Clark Kent, yes, my perspective is more like X-ray, and X-ray can't see through lead. The video continues. Martha, who was watching the live broadcast, was so frightened by the shocking explosion that she spilled the tea in her hand all over the floor. Lois, who was standing at the scene, was also stunned. The place suddenly became chaotic. Such an explosion did not cause any harm to Superman, and even his hair was not messed up. But he knew that he really couldn't wash himself clean, even if he jumped into the Yellow River. Superman just stood in the flames, motionless. The temperature of the flames was very high, but his heart was as cold as the cold wind in December. Bruce was also shocked by this scene, looking at the news on the newspaper he received, that Wayne building was destroyed, and dozens of people were killed, and there was also blood-red handwriting, "You killed your family." It was a perfect example of adding fuel to the fire. All this reminded Bruce of the dead Robin. Bruce didn't know if it was Superman who did it, but where there was Superman, there was a disaster. Don't try to reason with a menopausal person. Bruce certainly knew why he was angry, because he was also angry. Why did he move the company from Gotham to the next door Metropolis? It wasn't that the houses in Metropolis wouldn't be fed by friendly citizens every few days and needed to be rebuilt, but it was mainly safer there. Metropolis is only one river away from Gotham, and it is very convenient for employees to go to and from get off work. Moreover, those who want to settle down in Metropolis can find their favorite houses with the help of the Wayne Group, and they don't have to worry about being robbed by gangsters, attacked by mentally ill people, or kidnapped every now and then. But now, not long after he moved the company out, a group of employees suffered heavy casualties because of his actions. It can be said that the more he thought about it, the angrier he became, and the angrier he became, the more he thought about it, and he was about to get angry. The people in the hearing room have all been killed. Clark can only help the rescuers to carry the surviving injured and the bodies of the dead out of the sea of fire. With Clark's help, all the injured were rescued and the bodies of the dead were brought out. But at this moment, Luthor's plan has succeeded. He proved that Superman is not an omnipotent god. His plan was also successful. Is it important that Superman did this? It doesn't matter. Now everyone thinks that Superman ate 2 bowls of noodles. He can't even cut open his stomach to see how many bowls of noodles he ate. After the rescue was completed, Clark didn't want to stay here anymore. He and Lois looked at each other for the last time and jumped up. He broke the sound barrier directly 100 meters above the ground and disappeared completely from people's sight. In Wayne's villa, Alfred was chopping wood. When he brought the firewood back to the room, he couldn't find Wayne. There were only return checks and a newspaper, and the TV next to him was broadcasting news about the bombing of the Congress. Looking at the swaying trees outside, Alfred knew that the wind was blowing. "Alfred, Master, you are angry." Bruce looked at the barrage that Alfred suddenly sent out, and he knew that his old butler was worried about him. He took a deep breath and forced himself to calm down. He couldn't get excited. Getting excited meant that his thinking ability declined. Alfred didn't get excited, so he realized that this matter was not so simple, but he got excited, so he was going crazy. On Mars, Dr. Manhattan looked at Clark flying away, as if he saw his former self. He really wanted to know whether Clark in the future would be disappointed with humans like himself, and then move to Mars to live. It might be a little difficult. He still has some psychological dependence on the environment of the earth. Maybe he will choose to find a place deep in the mountains and old forests to live incognito. At night, Luther returned to the research room of Lex Group. The scene was in chaos. It was obvious that there were guests. Luther didn't care about the chaos and destruction. When he saw the black bat on the screen, that solved his security like a ghost. He knew that it was done. When they came to the place where kryptonite was stored, the glass cabinet had been blown open, and there was only a dart of Batman inside. Luther's mouth curled up. Although there was a little discrepancy with his general plan, it was perfect in general. The Capitol Police confirmed to CNN that the suspect of the explosion was Wallace Vernon Keefe. The explosive device may have been hidden in his wheelchair and brought into the hearing site. As for Superman, he obviously failed to stop the explosion. The news revealed who made the explosion, but the people at the scene were still very angry. They didn't care who it was. They needed a way to vent. Obviously, Superman was the best way to vent. Countless citizens scolded Superman because they thought Superman would not dare to kill them. Clark, it's me, can you? Lois saw the news and was about to find Clark, but when she turned around, she found Clark outside the window. I didn't see it, Louise. Clark silently said the reason why he couldn't stop the explosion. I was standing there, but I didn't see it. Clark, there must be someone behind this. I didn't see it, because I didn't see it at all. Clark began to doubt himself. His kindness made him take the responsibility on himself. I have been living for my father all these years, correcting the mistakes of a dead person, and I thought I was doing good things. Superman has never been real. It was just a dream of a Kansas farmer. The light shone on Clark, sometimes bright and sometimes dark, just like Clark's struggling heart. Mr. Clark. Alfred came out with an umbrella in his hand. It's raining. Let's go back to the house first. Thank you. The sky was covered with dark clouds, and Gotham, this ghost place, has been rainy all year round. You don't have to blame yourself. A saint in the East once said, no one is saintly, and everyone can make mistakes. Since you think you are an ordinary person, you will make mistakes. Sometimes, it's not bad to live a simple life. Alfred knew how to enlighten Clark. Saying that those things had not happened yet was just a temporary solution, not a fundamental solution. The most important thing was to let Clark calm down and accept himself. Actually, you don't need to use honorifics with me. I always feel a little uncomfortable with this. Well, Clark, what do you think of the scene where you saved those refugees in the flood? I just did what I had to do. But you are not Superman. You are Clark. But I think it is my responsibility. The greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. This is what Peter's uncle said. Do you have the ability to see through lead plates? No. Then you don't have this responsibility. Image continues. The farmer's dream is everything to some people. It is everything that gives them hope. Louise comforts Superman's shaken heart and touches the symbol on his chest. This symbol must have meaning. It existed in my world, but my world no longer exists. After Superman said this, he chose to leave here without giving Lois another chance. Alpha asked, Mrs. Kent and Mrs. Al, which one is your mother? Clark. They are both. Laura gave me life, and Martha raised me. Then is the earth your home? Yes. The S symbol on your chest stands for hope. It is not only the hope of Krypton, but also the hope of Earth. Just like Mr. Joel said, you are the bridge between the two planets and the hope of the two planets. In the scene of the flood, I also felt that I saw God. Alpha smiled and said, houses and livestock were swallowed up by the flood, and people were trembling. At this moment, the light of hope came, and led people out of the flood, and out of the predicament. You bring hope to people in desperate situations. There is no doubt about that. These 3 chapters can become the Luthor trilogy. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.